Has this meeting been publicly noticed?
Meeting has been posted and noticed according to law.
Thank you. Sarah, would you like to call the roll?
Yes. Trustee Amenta. Trustee Amenta.
I'm here.
Trustee Backhorst.
Present.
Trustee Carpenter.
Here.
Trustee Ursing.
Here.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Here.
Trustee Warren.
Here.
And President Rosick.
Here. Thank you. Everyone's present?
Everyone's present.
Thank you. We'll start the meeting tonight with special order of business 4A. The agenda is COVID update. We have Director Ann Christensen here from the North Shore Health Department. Welcome, Ann.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for having me. Give a real quick update and then invite your questions. Let me start with cases and a little information about where we are with our cases. I was looking back at my report last month, and essentially we're at the same point in terms of our case numbers as we were at that point in time. So over the last 2 weeks, we had 15 cases. That puts us at about 114 cases per 100,000. Which again is flat in terms of where the trajectory is, but it is still much, much lower than it had been around the holidays. So our trajectory has been on a decline for quite some time and is now at the lower end of that, but at a plateau. So cases are not further going down, but again, they're not going up at the same time. Obviously, as I've been reporting over the months, we're concerned about the variants and the impact that that's going to have. But at this point, we're still not seeing the potential increases that we were anticipating from any variant activity. And that largely could be the result of vaccine. It could be the result of people wearing masks and having good behaviors and good mitigation measures. It could be a combination of things. We do see evidence that those variants are circulating, but again, in terms of the growth in the cases that are resulting from those variants, again, at this point, we're still not seeing those numbers that we were anticipating when the variants were first became known to us about 6 weeks ago or so. And then that data is also validated by our percent positive numbers and some of the wastewater surveillance that has been collected and monitored. So what we see from the wastewater surveillance data, which is very interesting, that also shows a similar downward decline in case numbers. So that's going to be population level information for all of the region, not necessarily Shorewood, but again, it validates what we're seeing in our cases overall. And then that percent positive number is again continuing to be quite low, lower, about less than 1 or less than 2% for the Shorewood area for the last couple of weeks. So again, good news from our cases. I think that's a really a good sign as we go into this period of heavy focus on our vaccination campaign. And I'll just move over to that and then again, invite questions. So at this point in time, looking at the Wisconsin Immunization Registry data, the Shorewood specifically, a little over 4,000 residents have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. So that's about 30% of the population has been received, again, at least one dose of the vaccine. So that's a bit more than Milwaukee County data overall, where the state reports a little over 18%. And that's about average for the North Shore overall. So again, a good sign that people are out getting vaccinated. And as we wrap up vaccinating some of the currently eligible groups, including people 65 and older and teachers and educators and those in childcare, we're continuing to vaccinate those groups. But the demand for vaccine, as evidenced by the number of phone calls and how quickly our immunization clinics fill up, has gone down over the last several weeks. It's not gone away. Our slots still fill up very quickly, but we're talking over several hours instead of several minutes. So again, that's an indication that demand is slowing slightly. That demand is slowing because there are also more vaccinators that are in the area that are also helping relieve some of that pressure. And as I reported last month, many of them are getting more vaccine than the health department. So just a reflection on this week, we received about 219 doses to give out for first doses. And that compares to one of the Walgreens stores in the area. So just to give you a sense of how few vaccine the health department gets compared to other places. It had been going up, so I anticipate that it will continue to go back up. This is probably just the fluctuation of who is receiving vaccine in the area. And for this week, we did not get the full amount that we requested, which continues to be about 600 doses each week so that we can maintain those clinics in Shorewood and Brown Deer. So the broader story is that people are getting vaccinated. They're finding their way to vaccine. Health department continues to offer vaccinations. Again, when we have the supply, we want to offer them in both of the offices. We think that those are really good locations. They're also very approachable for the community in terms of their size and their ability to reach us. So it's moving along. We're anticipating, obviously, the end of the month will be a very busy time as many more groups become eligible for vaccine. When the groups expand, the eligibility groups expand to people with other medical conditions. Across Wisconsin, that's anticipated to be about 2 million people. So again, a pretty sizable amount of the population at that point will be eligible for vaccine. So again, we'll continue to offer our clinics. There will be more vaccinators coming from the federal retail pharmacy program. That's the program that Walgreens and Kroger are part of. And then we're also looking at partnering with some of the Walgreens to stand up some specific clinics here in the North Shore during that time. So those are in planning, but at this point, we're going to continue to rely on the mechanisms that we have in place to move through those groups of next eligible populations. So I'll pause there and invite your questions.
Thank you, Director Christensen. I just wanted to add at the ICC, you gave a great update as well. And one of the questions for the board to know was, why are the numbers going down? And I believe, and please fill in what I missed, but the reasons were there's vaccines, people are getting vaccinated. The season has changed. 98,000 plus people in Milwaukee County have already had COVID and probably won't get it again. And people are wearing masks. Was there any other?
Yeah, I mean, all of those reasons are still, as I said, our assumptions about why cases are going down. It's really a very challenging question to answer without really reflecting on the long sense of data of what was exactly the reason for the decrease at this point in time. But again, all of those things are hypotheses that we have about what's driving those numbers down.
Thank you. Okay, Trustee Carpenter and then Trustee Warren.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne, for the update. Just one question for you about, as we're transitioning into this very large group of residents, and it seems like you've gotten probably about 50% of the doses that you've asked for in the past. Is that sort of the expectation as we move into March 29th? And what is your recommendation for residents to get a shot in their arm?
Yeah, so I anticipate receiving the maximum capacity or the maximum amounts that I'm requesting as the Johnson & Johnson vaccine becomes more available and Pfizer and Moderna become slightly more available for us at the health department. So I suspect, and the state has talked about that supply of vaccine will increase in the coming weeks that coincide with their transition to those other eligibility groups. So that's my anticipation. There's a number of places for people to access vaccine. The health department is obviously one of those. The other places that will have large supplies of vaccine will be the Wisconsin Center. That's the site downtown that the Milwaukee Health Department has stood up, and FEMA is now partnering with the Milwaukee Health Department. There's also a clinic run by UWM and Advocate Aurora Health on campus there. That's a pretty larger scale clinic as well. And then right in your yard, North Shore Pharmacy is running a vaccination clinic, and then we have Summit up in Fox Point. So there are a lot of vaccinators coming online and have been online for some period now. The easiest place to get connected to those different entities is Healthy MKE. We'll have information about all those different vaccinators and places for people to seek out vaccine. I recognize it's really challenging. You have to be somewhat talented in terms of, knowing where those places are and being able to navigate the scheduling system. But if people are struggling with that, they're welcome to call the health department, and we are more than happy to be a resource to help people connect to a place for vaccination, whether it's with us or whether it's one of these other places.
Thank you.
Yep.
Trustee Warren.
Trustee Carpenter asked my question, so I'm good.
Oh, okay. Trustee Ursink. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yep, I got it. Yep. So looking over the new guidelines for restaurants in particular, I see that some restaurant workers are actually left off, like bus staff and bartenders. Is there a reason why not all restaurant staff is a part of that? Because I think they all interact, as one unit, and I think that's, I'd just love to hear your perspective on why some of those folks were left off of that.
That's a great question. Obviously, those are the state guidelines for who's eligible for vaccination. And I will be happy to follow up with them tomorrow. I'm actually surprised to hear you say that, because I would assume, as you're suggesting too, that they are included in that group, and that's likely an oversight on their part.
Yeah, and I, just talking to a place like North Shore Pharmacy, they're pretty lenient as well. So if you just say you work at a restaurant, they are open to just giving you the shot. So, but I've had a couple people ask that from the industry, why are some of us not, or why can some of us get the shot, but others cannot get the shot when we're all interacting and working together? So just love a little bit more clarification from that if you do get that.
Yeah, I would doubt that was intentional, but I'll follow up with Department of Health tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Great. Is there any other questions? I don't see any other hands.
Trustee Bach first. Yeah, sorry, I can't find the hand raising icon.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Trustee Bockhorst.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Director Christensen, for that update. And I'm happy to hear that these numbers are that a third of the population of Shorewood has received the shot. And I don't know what the percentage of people who have had the virus is in Shorewood, but you could factor that in too, if not already done so. One of the questions I had was regarding the federal funds that we are receiving. And I know maybe this is more for Rebecca's update later on, but how, I guess with that money, have you had a chance to look at the money from the federal government as far as COVID relief, and how will that be used in our municipality? And then the second part I have though is going back to your further update regarding that there are a multitude of vaccination centers, and it's more about getting the information out to the people in the municipality. And I know this because as well, because I'm constantly, finding arms for shots in Milwaukee at times, at the last minute. So if there, maybe you could speak to that, because we will be getting federal funds. So if we can expedite the vaccination rate within this municipality and beyond, in the North Shore, in Milwaukee, et cetera, that would be wonderful. So I guess I'm throwing a lot at you. Go in whatever order you'd like.
I'll start with the first. So actually I did run the numbers with so there were 835 Shorewood residents who have had COVID, and then 4,002 that have received at least one dose of the vaccine. So if you took that together, that's about 36.5% of the population who've either had the disease or had at least one shot. So getting closer to a point where we're at, that 80% is talked about as herd immunity, but obviously some ways to go in that sense. Federal funds, I think we're still teasing that out. Again, I sort of wait for the municipalities and for the state health department to give guidance around those funds and how they're going to be used. We're still heavily in the response effort. So our resources are being driven to, just staffing and standing up the vaccination clinics, but also as part of the county effort through the UEOC, which is the Unified Emergency Operation Collaborative, there are a number of outreach and community engagement efforts happening currently to really spread the word about vaccinations to a much broader group of the Milwaukee County area. So that will be a grant that the UEOC is applying for more direct outreach. And then there's actually a number of organizations that are submitting grants for that funding under the UEOC structure. So there's some need for funding in that area more specifically. And the North Shore Health Department is partnering with those groups under that structure. In terms of the direct funds for the health department or the municipalities, I think that's something that we haven't really processed at this point. And there'll be more to come on that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And so it just as a follow-up then, however we can get the word out as quickly as possible, I think it's important for us to do. So we will partner with you on that. And also, I'm not going to speak for the whole board, but for myself, since you're the expert in the field, we're going to look for some direction from you as far as, and I understand we're part of the North Shore Health Department, so you can't just respond to Shorewood. But I personally would like as much as possible the direction in some of the areas that you've identified as a health professional for us to recover from this time, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. We have had deaths. We have had a lot of people go through some serious hardships. We're just getting back. It's been almost 1 year since everything shut down. Yeah, Trustee Ersink, I think it was a year ago that we met. It was the last time. And then, so it would be, we need to get going. And so I don't know that we can wait for another couple of weeks for another update from you. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but in an area where we need urgency, pandemic relief, economic and health and otherwise is something that we definitely, and also with kids going back to school, et cetera. So that's what I'm going to say. And I guess as a board, we can talk about that later. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Trustee Bockhorst. Is there anybody else that would like to ask questions? Yes, Kathy, Trustee Stokebrand.
I just want to thank Anne for all of the work in an extremely difficult environment, and good luck to you in your future endeavors.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so I want to thank Director Christensen for coming and giving us our update, and we will see you in a couple weeks. All right, so we'll move on to the next agenda item. It's 4B, consider accepting donations to initiate dog waste station trial program, Parks Commission. Who is here to speak on this, Rebecca?
I can kick that off, President Rosick.
Go right ahead.
Thanks. So this has been a few months in the works. I'm just going to highlight the public process that we had on this item and then kick it off to Linda Larman and Judy Nguyen, who are with us today. The two individuals who have put together kind of the proposal and very generous donation offer. And then we have Bonnie Pedraza from the Parks Commission in attendance this evening, who will kind of just summarize the Parks Commission recommendation discussion at the end. So I think it was last October, November that Linda and Judy reached out to the village with the concept of having some dog waste stations available throughout the community. And we're willing to put the program together and some funds behind it. So we met, or myself and trying to think who, Kay Dunleavy with Shorewood Waters Project was part of that meeting to kind of go through just the general concept and what it would look like and work on some of those details related with the proposal. It went to the Parks Commission to start off 2021 here, initially in January, just to kind of go through the concept. It also went to the Conservation Committee to review the concept of plastic bags, which the Conservation Committee voted 11-2 in support. I think there were some members on the Conservation Committee that certainly expressed some concern about plastic, but several of the other members mentioned that the dog waste issue was a larger concern at this point than the plastic bags. And I'm sure Judy and Linda can briefly talk about that discussion a little bit more in detail. In between Parks Commission meetings, we had Jenny Volpes, the Parks Commission chair, along with Enrique Figuera and Bonnie, who are members of the Parks Commission, to meet with Linda and Judy to talk about locations. So you'll see in the attached proposal, the proposed locations are sites that those commission members are recommending as part of a trial program. And that was approved, recommended for approval by the Parks Commission for your review. So it was set up as a one-year trial to see how it would work as a volunteer program. We're trying to keep this as tax-free as much as possible, where we have donors and sponsors that would pay for bags moving forward and volunteers who would maintain the stations rather than village staff. So we're trying to do our best to keep this as tax-free of a program as possible. So with that being said, I'm just going to have Linda and Judy talk a few minutes about the reasons why they wanted to propose this program, and then just a little bit on the specifics of the stations themselves.
Thank you, Tyler. And it is the Parks Commission and Parks and Public Spaces now. Is that correct?
Parks and Public Spaces will be starting this summer, correct? But it's still
so-
just the Parks Commission that's meeting.
Okay, thank you. And who did you want to speak first?
Either Linda or Judy.
Judy?
It looks like Linda.
Linda. Okay, Linda, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'll kick it off. Thank you, Village Board, for entertaining this idea. And thank you so much, Tyler, for being the guiding hand that we needed throughout. So the reasons that we want to do this are very, very simple. Judy and I are both dog owners ourselves, and we cover a lot of territory walking around the village and just notice too much dog poop in the parkways, sometimes on the sidewalks, in public parks themselves. It's kind of everywhere. And I'm sure I don't need to educate anyone on the board that dog poop is a significant pollutant to both the soil and the water. And it is a significant spreader of various diseases, parasites, E. coli, that kind of stuff, to other dogs who might eat it or otherwise get their bodies on it, and to human beings. Same kind of, human beings are not eating it, but if it gets on shoes and shoes aren't properly cleaned, etc. So it's disgusting. And we wanted to encourage those who are not currently picking up to pick up, and decided that the best way to do that is to have bag stations around the village so that people can easily access a bag, combined with an educational campaign in village publications. And Judy and I wanted to pay for the pilot project for the up to 15 stations and related bags, because we both believe in putting our money where our mouths are. And to get this kicked off, we would happily do that. Judy, you want to take it from here? You're muted, Judy, I think.
Okay. Again, I just want to reiterate thanks to Tyler for all the help you've given us as we tried to put this together. Just a little bit about what it would look like. As Linda said, we thought up to 15 stations, and we'll fund that for the pilot, and the pilot would go for a year. And what we would have are two kinds of stations. One that would be on parkways or on corners that we call poles, which is just what it says. It's a way station with a hole for bags in it on a pole. And the other one we call mailbox, and they attach to buildings. Like on Mod Pizza, that little alley between Mod Pizza and the grocery store has one of those attached to it. And then they would have bags in them, and we see the either the sponsors, the people who've agreed to have them either in front of their houses or on their buildings, we would ask them to keep the bags refilled and we would keep a supply of bags, or volunteers like classrooms or Girl Scouts or some to keep them filled. Each one would have, we have a logo, I don't know if you've seen it, but each one would have a Scoop the Poop Shorewood logo on it. And then sponsors, if they wanted to, could have their names on it too, but that's optional. And then, as Tyler said, we worked with the Parks Commission and Tyler to pick out what we thought were the best places to put them right now, based on kind of what we've seen and also what we wanted to test out. We're also hoping that there can be some particular attention to apartment buildings, because that's where on our walks we've seen an awful lot of them. And I think that's kind of the overview. They cost the ones that are on poles cost about $125, and the mailbox ones cost about $55. So that's what we would, and then the bags are $100 for 3,200 bags. So that's what we would be asking, or you all would be asking sponsors to give for this. So that's kind of our quick overview of it.
Thank you, Linda and Judith. Tyler, are you done with your portion? And then I'll entertain questions. You're muted, sorry.
Yeah, I should have known better. The only other part, Bonnie, I didn't know if you wanted to speak on behalf of the Parks Commission, just summarize the discussion that happened, and then that would conclude our presentation. Bonnie, you want to hit the mute button?
Yep. You're muted. Sarah, can you help her?
There. Am I open?
There you go, Bonnie.
Okay, so we basically, I'm just going to tell you that, just to reiterate what we had said, we spent a lot of time talking about the bags. There was a lot of people who, or there were people who were concerned about the plastic bags. And so we were looking at paper bags, but it turns out that that doesn't necessarily fit the pole. The bags don't fit on the pole or the mailbox type of things. So that's why we're going with plastic bags, even though some people are unhappy about plastic bags. It's just a lesser evil because of the poop issue. That's basically it. I'm just looking through my notes again. We'll evaluate these sites at the end of our time that we're looking at them, and see if some sites were used more than others, or if we need to change to another site. That's about it.
Thank you, Bonnie. I do see a lot of hands, so I'll go in order here. Trustee Carpenter, Trustee Warren, and then Trustee Ursink.
I am, excuse me, I'm really excited for this pilot program as a dog owner. I think that this will be a great addition to Shorewood. I have one, and I might be reading, I don't think that this was intentional at all, but I'm just wondering if on the map, on the appendix, if we could use a different indicator for the waste receptacles. We're using yellow Jewish stars. This is what's on the map right now. And it just doesn't feel good. So I know that was not intentional, but I'm excited for it. And that's my only comment. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Carpenter. Tyler, did you get that? And is it possible to change that?
Yeah, we can make that change.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Warren.
Well, thank you for bringing this to us. I appreciate it, and I think this is a great benefit to the community. I mean, certainly, living on a corner lot, I have discovered many unwelcome surprises on my grass. Let's put it that way. So I think that this, and of course, as you said, there's an environmental impact that all the dog poop causes. So I thank you for bringing this. Thank you for funding this. And with that, I can move to accept the donation and approve the Scoop the Poop Shorewood trial program.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, but we do have further discussion. Are you done with your questions?
I am done.
Okay, trustee Ursink.
You know, I do want to bring up the plastic issue because I do think it's you know, I want to thank you for this. I think this is a fantastic idea, and I think it's going to be very successful. We have so many dogs here in Shorewood, and you know, I hope those folks that let their dog poop in other people's yards and in other spaces, I hope this encourages them. You know, I'm doubtful a little bit that the people that are letting their dogs just poop anywhere are going to participate, but I think the people that are good citizens and good dog owners will definitely take advantage of this. Now, when it comes to the plastic, this is talking about single-use plastic, a roll of 3,200 bits of plastic that is being used for one particular thing, and then will sit in a landfill for the next 1,000 years. You know, I think, you know, and I try to, you know, I was part of the Parks Commission, and you know, I really think, you know, we got to do better. We can't just sacrifice and just do straight up plastic. You know, I know we talked about, you know, I know compostable, other kind of plastic type materials were discussed. I would love to search for alternatives. It's the only way I'm going to support this is if we search for alternatives to plastic, and I will pay the difference out of my own pocket for what if we find a roll of 3,200 you know, corn starch based plastic bags, you know, that will break down in less than, you know, 1,000 years. I will pay the difference for those bags out of my own pocket, but I can't support putting single-use plastic back into this earth. You know, it's totally unacceptable to me. I stand, you know, it goes against everything I stand for. So I can't support that, but I would like to make an amendment and say that, you know, would like to amend the motion and require the bags to actually be more of a material that will break down easier than straight plastic.
I'll second that.
Okay. Could we just read that, make sure the clerk has the amendment correct? Sarah?
Yes, so I have to amend to make the bags from a more biodegradable material.
Yeah, and I know that's, you know, I've heard the conversations, and I know, you know, that's, you know, whatever we can do that lessens the burden on the planet with this plastic, I'd be happy with. If it's something that breaks down in 100 years, 50 years, 20 years, I'm happy with, and I would love to do the research, and I will pay out of my own pocket for it. I just can't see us go ahead with this, because let's say one of these boxes open and, you know, 300 plastic bags fly all over Shorewood, get into our waters, get into, you know, the trees. It's kind of a nightmare, because these stations aren't really going to be manned by anybody. You know, it's volunteer based, so anything can happen. Kids can come up there and just pull bags out, and we could have plastic bags littered everywhere in Shorewood. So that's my biggest fear, and I love this idea. I just don't love the idea of all this plastic being in Shorewood. So I would love to research more, you know, more biodegradable options.
Thank you, trustee Ursink. I'm going to go around the table once, and then I'll go back around. Trustee Bockhorst.
Thank you. So I am very excited about this opportunity as a dog owner myself, who does pick up my dog's waste, and you didn't get to see her, maybe she was over here before. But there's sometimes that your bag does fly away, to trustee Ursink's point, or your dog blows through multiple bags, whatever. So it's great to have these. I'm always happy when I see these at parks and at other places. And I really appreciate trustee Ursink's amendment to make this a more biodegradable or a more earth-friendly opportunity. A variety of us that reinstated the Conservation Committee back in 2007, 2008. One of our big initiative was to provide a reusable shopping bag for every household in this village. A lot of you probably still have them, the green Conservation Committee bags. And it was with that intention as well. As you all, many of you are aware, at the state level, however, has precluded a lot of municipalities from banning plastics in a variety of fashions, including straws, including bags. You know, big oil, big plastic has a lot of clout in the nation, but also in the state of Wisconsin, and in the state legislature until recently hasn't been willing to allow us at the local level to have more onerous or more environmentally friendly laws and ordinances. So, but to that point, this is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to put our money where their mouth is. I appreciate the very generous contributions from both of these women here. And Judith, I miss seeing you when I lived back in the neighborhood, or in the block, I should say. So so this was, when I saw that right away, I think it was like about 6 months ago, when they put up a lot of their own personal funds. That's something I would not be able to afford, but I was very proud, and I brought tears to my eyes. So thank you for that. So anyway, I'm grateful that this campaign exists. Again, I don't think that, not every accidental accident, is a result of someone's choice or whatnot. So I'm happy to hear that we will have other options of having bags, because I do think that, we'll promote better use. And so anyway, so I look forward to supporting the amendment and voting yes, regardless of if the amendment passes or fails. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bachhorst. Trustee Stokebrand, and I think unless Trustee Menta has anything, I'll ask my questions and then we'll go back to Trustee Warren. Trustee Stokebrand.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the two ladies who brought this forward. I appreciate your concern and your efforts. We have a dog. Your proposed contribution is amazing. I have the same issue with the plastic bags. We always reuse a plastic bag, and I just can't see doing a single-use plastic bag for this, considering the concerns for the environment in our community. I also want to be clear. So the posts would they be put in the parkway in these neighborhoods? And so would the vendor who would put the posts in? And it'd be in the parkways?
Yeah, they just go right into the ground. So we would do the installation.
The village?
Yeah, it's just a post. It's not like you have to pour concrete or anything. They go right into the turf.
Okay, and so the DPW staff how long do they think it'll take them?
DPW staff doesn't even need to do them. They're pretty easy to install.
Okay, and so I'm just wondering, so with no concrete, we think they're gonna put up with the freeze and thaw of a Wisconsin winter system. I don't know, just something to think about. And so other people who mow their lot, that it would be their job to mow and trim around the post in their parkway, right?
Yeah, like anything else that's in the right of way, correct.
Okay, so if someone comes and they could put one in front of my house, you don't have anything to say about if it's going in front of your house, right?
Well, part of the memo I did write that we sent out about 50 or 60 different letters to residents that were along the proposed locations. And they were also aware of tonight's meeting. So the selection or the committee kind of identified a general area on a block that the locations of the stations could be. The comments, I received 4 comments. 3 of the comments I had time to be able to reflect in your memo.
Right, it looked like there were 2 negative and 1 ambivalent.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair. There were a few. I received 2 comments from the 1700 block of Olive, that general area that just doesn't want any more traffic to that location. They feel this would bring more people to that location.
So you would move that, or what would?
Right now, it's still a proposed location. So that would be up for you as a board to decide not to have that as a proposed location based on that feedback. And then the other comment that wasn't included on this, one of the locations, which I don't want to give away the property owner, but they didn't want outside because out of fear of dogs. So they just asked that a different corner of that intersection would have the location of the station.
Okay, so then just to be clear, the 2 women who are proposing this, they're going to be digging the holes for the posts?
No. This is something that we'll be working through with the Parks and Public Spaces Committee and through DPW. But, I'll talk with Leanne as far as,
so there is a
best way to go about it. But
so DPW will be digging the holes in the parkway.
These look like stakes just put into the ground. They're just like the signs that you see in the right of way, you know, like no parking signs. It's just like they just got to jam them in the
Okay.
ground.
And I guess my question is, you know, the concerns in, was it Fox Point or Bayside, was people didn't want them, they only put them in parkways because people didn't want them in the dense housing areas. So we're the densest municipality in the village. And so I would propose putting them at Atwater Park, Hubbard Park, River Park, you know, places where there's always a garbage can, because I don't see it working out with the policing. If you can't get people to pick up after your dog, if you provide them with a bag, I'm sorry, but I don't see them carrying it. I see bags of poop on our dog walks all the time. And, you know, it's not a good statement for humanity, but I would rather only put them for the pilot year. Let's put them in the parks where there's always a garbage pickup. And let's make it beat the compostable bags.
Thank you, Trustee Stokbrand. Unless Trustee Amenta has a question, I'm going to ask mine, and then we'll go back around the table because I see Trustee Bockhorst and Warren had more comments. So I caught on to a couple of things. This is a trial period. It's being paid by citizens, and thank you so much. We definitely appreciate your efforts and your funding for this. What happens after the trial period if it's successful, and who's the entity that's going to take over once they're in the ground?
I can answer that question. So it'll be the Parks and Public Spaces Committee. This will be one of the things that they'll be asked to review and evaluate and give a report to the village board after the trial period. If it's deemed successful, you know, one of the recommendations that the Parks and Public Spaces would provide is just to keep the current amount of stations, if less or more is needed. So they would give, you know, part of that reflection period would be giving that recommendation as far as how to move forward with a permanent program. I'd compare it pretty similar to how we did with like the organics collection program as a trial period. It was deemed successful, made into a permanent program, and to move forward with adding people to the program. Now, I'm not saying that we would add more stations after the 15, but that's at least the process that we would utilize.
Okay. And then who is in charge of recruiting the volunteers to refill the bags? I know you said there'd be sponsors, but
that would also be the Parks and Public Spaces Committee.
Okay, and then I have just two concerns. One is going with Trustee Stokbrand's comments. After stations put into the ground, I mean, I thank you for notifying residents that there may be a station put near their home, but if they weren't able to come to the meeting tonight, or after it's been put into the ground, if there's issues with, you know, bags flying or, you know, too many people congregating, I don't know what could be, but if there is an issue and a resident would like it removed, who do they complain to, and what is the process? Are you going to bring those all to the village board?
Nope. Another great question. I think that's one of the reasons why it's being advocated for a trial period. So that would be evaluated. That could be brought to me as the staff liaison for the Parks and Public Spaces. And I'd bring that feedback to them to make a recommendation on how to proceed with that station.
Because I'm just concerned you're asking the board to approve the locations tonight, and then if you change those locations or if one needs to be removed because of a complaint, I think it probably needs to come back to the board. Unless, I mean, especially who does the resident complain to if their complaint is not addressed?
If I may, we're asking the board to vote tonight because we're receiving a donation that's going to go on village property. So that's why it's being brought to the board. Because you as a board are considering to accept that donation and accept the fact that that's going in public right away.
Right, and it's going on our property, right? Taxpayers' property. So that's the other reason, and the locations would be doing that. And my last question is, I just feel like what is our recourse if the trial, we get a ton of complaints, or, you know, bags are flying? I mean, how do we decide when to discontinue the trial? Like if, say, 2 months into it, it's not going well, or or two of the sponsors aren't refilling their bags. You know, how do you go about either discontinuing the trial or addressing, you know, issues?
Yeah, if we're hearing a common trend that either a station or all the stations aren't containing the bags properly, aren't being refilled, causing issues, I mean, that'll be something that we'll work directly with the Parks and Public Spaces Committee on, who will meet on a monthly basis. You know, and as the staff liaison, if it becomes an issue, you know, I'll work with that committee, and, you know, there'll be a trustee liaison with that committee. So I'll make sure to work with them too, to figure out the proper record, you know, the proper action as promptly as we can. It'll be an ongoing reflection process. So if it becomes, you know, a really big concern, I mean, we don't have to wait for the full year in order to bring back a report. We could certainly have that discussion earlier if needed.
Okay. And then I just would like to know from the two sponsors for the funding, trustee, we made an amendment on the floor now that we haven't voted on yet, but if it passes, is there any objection to researching, which I'm in support of, researching and utilizing reusable or recycled bags, or whatever the terms were? They're probably more expensive. I do know they exist. Is that a problem, or are you okay with that amendment? Linda?
No, we'd have to work out, Trustee Ursink has offered to pick up the cost differential. So I'm not sure what that means, because to our knowledge, the poll stations and the so-called mailbox stations do not accommodate those kinds of bags. So we'd have to, you know, work out what our cost would be versus what that differential would be. I would want to know that. But in general, I'm not opposed to the concept. I wanted to add one point of clarification. Since Trustee Stokebrand referenced Fox Point and Bayside, I had conversations with the village manager in both cases, and also in the case of Fox Point, with the person at their DPW who has responsibility for those stations. And I did not have this discussion per se with Bayside, but in Fox Point's case, I was told that the reason that the stations were put primarily in park land, pathways, instead of on the residential streets, was because their stations have receptacles attached, and that results in odor and other foul things. And that's why residents don't want them in their neighborhoods. Our proposal does not include receptacles attached to the stations.
Thank you. I would like to hear from Judith, and then I'll conclude my questions.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Linda said. And also, when we came up with this proposal, both of us felt fairly strongly that we do need to have some of these stations in residential areas, because that's where we're seeing the poop. You know, you see it in the park too, but I think where it's really irritating is where you're walking in the residential. So I know I feel pretty strongly about wanting to have some of the stations there, and not only having them in parks.
Did you have any concern over the cost, the difference, or utilizing recyclable bags rather than?
No, I don't. And I appreciate your effort to research them, because when we did it, we didn't come up with very good solutions in terms of fitting in there, in terms of what recyclable means, and in terms of some of the others and how they do compost. So I appreciate your effort to take it further. And as Linda said, we'll have to figure out the cost, because there's sort of a limit on what we're offering.
Thank you. And so that's my only concern is I'm 100% for not utilizing first use plastic and putting more into the environment. So I'm going to support the amendment. But my concern would be, you may have to come back. I don't know if Trustee Ursink you can comment next on funding, but if I don't get why reusable plastic or recycled plastic doesn't fit and regular first use plastic does, and if that is true, then you may have to go to a whole new system, a different system. So I don't know who's going to do the research, but I'm going to support the amendment, and I wouldn't support the project with first use plastic. So with that, I will let Trustee Ursink respond, and then we'll go around the table one more time with Trustee Carpenter leading it off.
So I think, from a cost perspective, I'd be, I'm open, I'm 100% open to digging in and doing the research necessary. I think from the Parks Commission and from reading all the documents, I already dug in and started doing quite a bit of research, and I found some different options. From a cost perspective, I'd be willing to pay the difference from the bags, in hopes that we could find a bag that fits in the current design box. That would be my goal. So I think that's where I'll start, is to see, try to get the dimensions from the box and see if I can talk to some different, some different services to find the proper bags. And, just to be clear, we're not going to be composting these. I mean, we're not composting dog poop, but we don't have a service that composts dog poop. Some do, ours doesn't with Compost Crusaders, and I think, the goal is finding a bag that breaks down easier, so a cornstarch bag or something that's a little bit more biodegradable. I know I know there's still plastics in those bags, but I just, just to go with a straight single-use plastic bag, full-on plastic bag, I think we just owe the village a little bit more effort to try to find something that's a little bit better for the environment here. So I'd love to help out with that. And I think, if we're looking at $100 versus $150 for the bag for a roll of 3,200, I'll pay the $50. I'll pay whatever that cost is above what's being proposed here. So that's what I'd like to do. And if we have to find a whole new structure and a whole new thing, that's a bigger conversation. I know Tyler's put in just a ton of work into this, and I think a lot of the conservation committee voted yes because they felt bad. They didn't want to kind of, they didn't like the idea of the plastic, but they didn't want to rock the boat about this because of all the work that's been put in. So I'm happy to jump in and help out with some of that work and find the best solution for all of us. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. And I apologize, Trustee Carpenter. Trustee Warren had his hand up for hours. So I'll do Warren and then Trustee Carpenter.
Well, a lot of my questions got covered. So I'm kind of, it's kind of a theme tonight, but I would just, and Tyler, I might be, tell me if I'm misrepresenting this conversation anyway. Like as the trustee liaison to the Conservation Committee, there was this discussion around single-use plastic bags, obviously. And part of the issue is that the options that were available, assuming they go in, village waste baskets and to the landfill, even if they are technically compostable, they still will not break down in that type of environment. So it becomes more of a academic exercise because, single use or the compostable options we were looking at, neither one would break down. So that was part of the conversation at the Conservation Committee. And, that said, I certainly wouldn't be adverse to looking at options and trying to figure out something that maybe broke down a little easier. But I also, we need to be cognizant of the fact that it might be sort of an impossibility to get bags that will break down going to a landfill within this program. So Tyler, let me know. I don't know. Is that an accurate characterization? It's how I remember the conversation going at Conservation.
Yeah, I think the one, Trustee Ursink mentioned cornstarch, which I think that was an option that they said may work a little bit better, if I remember right. But you are right on what you said about like biodegradable or the compostable bags.
Does that change the amendment? And you can address that after Trustee Carpenter goes. Go ahead, Trustee Carpenter.
I just had a question about the design. Is the design like on your leash, you have the little thing to hold your poop bags, like the little roll? Is the thought that they would fit that, that same concept, that it would hold those kinds of bags?
Linda or Judy, do you want to answer that?
I think they would be that type of bag under our proposal.
Okay.
And I think as Judy mentioned, bags are sold in rolls, like hefty bags, you know, where you just have this big thing and you can pull out as many as you want, or single pull. And we, our proposal includes single pull. We figured most people would only pull one that way as opposed to pulling several.
Sure, because I just personally those are the kinds of bags that we use, the semi-compostable, and they do come in the little rolls, and so I think that they are out there and would fit into the at least from what I had read in the packet, the design and that you guys have. So I feel comfortable with that moving forward. So thank you. Thanks for this, guys.
Thanks, Trustee Carpenter. Trustee Bockhorst?
Thank you. So a couple of things, and one is regardless of the decision we make tonight, which it sounds like we're going to go forward, which I'm elated about, I have full confidence. I do not want staff to have to come back to us every time there's a change. I think that we hire competent staff to deal with these type of situations and we give them policy direction. So I have full confidence that they can pivot based on this, and that's pretty evidenced by the hard work that that Tyler has put into this, as far as I'm concerned. So I want to say that I think the community, this is something that the community has been talking about, dog waste in a variety of regards. We didn't hit on people's personal or village-owned trash cans yet. That's for another time. The compostable biodegradable discussion, that's very important and very interesting because I didn't think of that too. I know sometimes on the front end, meaning that if you were to purchase bags that were recycled or recycled plastic going into it, might be one of those ways if these are not going to compost or break down. So that might be a way for us to get ahead and you know, reduce our carbon footprint while we're increasing, well, not really, but and also it also is something that I think Trustee Ursing said, our Compost Crusaders, the company with which we partner in order to do food and other kind of composting in the village, maybe that's great for that aspect, but perhaps we also push and ask the Conservation Committee and others, if they haven't done so already, to look for some other ways to compost dog waste, because I forget the amount of pet waste per annum that is generated in the average home, but in Shorewood it's pretty high. I think that we have over 51% of the residents own at least one pet, and dog ownership is very high in Shorewood. There was a number at some point and it was based even on only the people that had licensed their pets. So so this is something that a lot of our residents will take note of and hopefully appreciate. We're also a very so yeah, we're a dog friendly community in general. This also fits in so well with our Vision 2025 and being an open, friendly, welcoming place to visit. People walk in from Milwaukee, we want that. People cross the border from Whitefish Bay and beyond. And we wouldn't want to interfere with that. And we want to give people the opportunity to dispose of their waste. And I don't think everyone is as I don't know what the word is. I'll say outgoing as I am, which I will ask strangers or, you know, if they have a bag, if I've noticed I need one. So anyway, there's that. And it's an equity thing too. As we talk in Shorewood about trying to be more accepting, and I'm not saying that people can't afford, you know, plastic bags are free in general, we can all recycle them. But it's a good way for us to show that we're good neighbors to people, not just within our municipality, but beyond. And I think that we've got a good amount of ground to make up as far as that's concerned. So this is only just one. And I know this is kind of bougie to begin with, so forgive me, but a lot of people own pets across all socioeconomic and you know, across all realms. A couple of things I will say regarding not in my parkway. Okay, not in my NIMBY. I'm sure you've all heard that term. Maybe it's derogatory. I hope not. Not in my backyard, not in my parkway. Well, the parkway is not mine. So I will be the first to volunteer my parkway for one of these stations, even though it's not mine. It's owned by the village, and we have the responsibility to maintain the parkway. Those of us that have homes, but we don't have ownership of it. So So I understand that not everyone wants a station in front of their house, and that's great. It sounds like Tyler has a great system in place for those that don't, and they don't have to. It's not, this isn't a mandate that people have to have this in front of their home. However, you all probably are aware that the state of Wisconsin has prohibited that, and our ability to really constrain where the 5G cell towers and all of that stuff is placed, and other regulatory measures. So that's a whole different story. But where I'm going with this is something that doesn't hurt anyone. I get some people don't like congregation. I'm again maybe more social than most. I'm not sure how many people will be congregating around someone's parkway just because there's bags there, but I guess it could happen. But we can deal with this, guys. These are small things. We can talk to our neighbors, ask people, or even have these, sounds like these are staked in the ground things, we can move them. And then regarding Fox Point and Bayside and other North Shore municipalities that don't have sidewalks, I can understand why they wouldn't want maybe one of these, units in front of their house. A lot of those places they're not densely populated like the village of Shorewood. And maybe people live in some of those areas for that reason. I don't know, but we are much more like Milwaukee than we are like Fox Point in the regard of our density and a variety of factors. So I don't think I'm going to disagree with a couple of the comments. I know you didn't say this, but I don't think people in general are jerks. I think that a lot of times there's pet waste. It's probably, and this is all speculation, but I guess maybe I'm half full here. Either they didn't see, they dropped their bag, etc. I don't think most people who own pets are looking to just to leave their waste. Otherwise, we would have a heck of a lot more in all areas of the world. And we're seeing it right now too, because the snow's melting and everything else. So I would say I wouldn't want to kill this based on being able to incorporate the different bags, but I do think it is an opportunity. I do think there is money. And I know Shorewood Foundation and other organizations would be able to offset some of those costs, or I don't know for sure, but I would assume. So yeah, I guess I could go on and on about this. As a dog owner, I'm elated. We've changed a lot of our policies in Shorewood since in the last 5 years with dogs. We've become much more dog friendly. We allow dogs at parks now on leashes on certain areas. So let's keep going. Let's keep being a more friendly place to be. So, and regarding the receptacles, sorry, anyone who has a pet that is walking their dog is not going to need to immediately dispose of their bag of waste. We're used to carrying it. We're used to carrying out our waste and taking it either to our home or to a public receptacle or what have you. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bachhorst. Trustee Carpenter?
I'd like to call the question.
Okay, Sarah, can you call the roll on call the question?
I need a second.
Oh, I
I'll
second.
second.
Oh, Trustee Warren seconds.
All right, thank you. All right, this is to call the question. Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
President Rosick.
Yes.
Motion to call the question passes 7-0.
Okay, can you read the motion and then go ahead and call the roll?
Sure, so we're actually going to start with the amendment first. Yep. So the amendment is to research utilizing biodegradable bags. So this is for the amendment.
But just,
Wait, what?
is that correct, to research it or to use it?
I think research utilizing it, I'm sorry.
Just to do the research. Okay.
I would like to, seeing it's my amendment would be to utilize the
Okay.
bags, but I will do the research. I'll do a lot of research.
Research and utilize.
Research and utilize that works. I mean,
That's what I thought was
Yep.
the intent. Okay, thank you. And you're okay with that, the second, correct?
Yep. Oh.
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
I mean, my understanding of it was that we were going to require them, not research.
That's what we just changed it to, research and utilize.
Research and utilize, right? I mean, I think that means require.
It
Okay,
does.
require, sure. I still agree with the second then.
Okay, sure. Go ahead and call the roll.
Okay, so this is for the amendment. Trustee Amenta.
No.
Trustee Warren. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Stokebrand.
No.
President Rosick.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-2.
thank you. And now we'll read the amended motion.
Yep. To accept the donation and approve the Scoop the Poop Shorewood trial program and to researching and utilizing biodegradable bags. Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Stokebrand.
No.
President Rosick.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, thanks so much for that great discussion, and thank you, ladies, for your generous donation, and hopefully we will find the right bags. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is 5, the consent agenda. Is that correct? Yes. Consent agenda may be acted upon by one motion. If in the judgment of any village board member, a consent agenda needs further discussion, the item can be placed in the items removed from the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Bachhorst, second by trustee Ursink. Is there any removals? Trustee Amenta and trustee Carpenter.
Yeah, I'd like to pull B and C, both minutes.
Okay, trustee Carpenter. Anything further?
Oh, what are the minutes?
Okay, B and C, trustee Warren.
I'd like to pull 5F3.
5F3, consider application.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything further? Seeing none, we will go ahead and vote on the consent agenda with the removed items.
Correct. Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
President Rosick.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now we'll take up the first item that was pulled, which was
5B.
B. And do you want to take them together, trustee Amenta?
Sure. On the February 15th minutes, item 9E on page 5. It says kind of in the middle, Attorney Delamore provided his thoughts on whether the board can proceed with the actions, which in his opinion was no, due to the fact that the ordinance has already been, it should be repealed, not appealed. And I just wanted to clarify, did you get that, Sarah? Okay, I just wanted to clarify that paragraph underneath that, where we voted 6-0 on allow a member of the public to scan copies, not original documents, at no cost during public business hours. I just wanted to clarify with their own scanner. Because I believe that's what those were my,
Thank
there's
you.
no changes on that one.
Okay, does anyone have any objection to those changes at this time? Okay, go ahead.
All right, is that it?
Trustee Carpenter, did you have, yours are on the other one? Okay.
Yeah, mine are the other one.
Okay, so on March 1st, on item, oh my gosh, 4A, B, C, it's on page 3, the 4th paragraph up. TIF, I believe, should just be 1F. And the 4th paragraph where it says, I echoed trustees Carpenter's that there's a difference between using TIF dollars to fund affordable housing and instead of luxurious housing, I think I said luxury housing. And I also would like to add, I remarked that President Rosick brought this issue up to the CDA in 2016, and I would like to have the date in there just because it was a long time ago, and I'm glad that she would like to give her credit for that. Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Does anyone have any objection to those? Okay, trustee Carpenter, did you have more to add?
No, it was just the TIF should be 1F in there. There's a couple of places in those minutes.
Okay, so should we make a motion to approve both B and C?
Yes, I'll move to approve the minutes of February 15th and March 1st, 2021, with the changes mentioned.
Second.
Second.
Okay, trustee Menta moves, makes a motion, and trustee Bachor seconded it. Go ahead and take the roll.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Menta,
Aye.
trustee Stokebrand,
Aye.
trustee Carpenter,
Hi.
trustee Bachhorst,
Yes.
trustee Ursink,
Yes.
president Rosick.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we'll now take up the last item that was pulled, which was, is it
Five,
F?
5F3, I
Five
believe.
F3.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Trustee Warren.
that was me. I just want to make sure, and this is probably a question for Bart. I see him on the line. That he could the concerns around the garbage can that were raised are being addressed. I think they're being addressed separately from this parklet application. I think they're being addressed under code compliance. So I just wanted to make sure that that these concerns are taken into account and not lost in the shuffle here.
Yeah, and that's correct. We we did act upon them as soon as we received them. So I had my code enforcement inspector, Tim, go out there last week on Friday. He provided his summary to Three Lions for them to have cleaned up by tomorrow and fixed, I believe, within 2 weeks. I have received communication from Three Lions indicating that they should be able to do so. I also received 3 communications since I left work today regarding it. So I know that they are looking into the issue. It is my perspective that my department can take care of everything that they've asked for outside of the parklet review. But since they did submit these comments in response to the neighborhood notification of that parklet review, I included within the packet. But yes, we are actively working on addressing the issue. And just for what it's worth, that refuse enclosure is actually utilized by Shore West, Nana Asian Fusion, and Three Lions. And so it would be a joint effort amongst all users to get that into compliance. So we are working on it, correct.
Got it.
Thank you. And thanks for that clarification that it is more than one owner that needs to address it. Trustee Bachhorst.
Yeah, no, thank you as well. We can only do what we can do. And so I'm glad that you brought this because I was going to pull this as well, Trustee Warren, and it's nothing against Three Lions. Love the place, love the space. Glad they're in the community. But our business owners are members of the community that do, and especially of restaurants and bars, do impact not only the amount of refuse that we have, the cleanliness of our streets, a variety of, there, as some would say, can be a license to print money. So we should make sure that we are getting as much as a municipality as possible out of these establishments, and that being in this case, their responsibility. I'd like to see us do this a little bit more aggressively across the board, because this is the one time, these are the times that when we're dealing with licenses and permits and other things, that we can require a little bit more from our business partners. But again, this is not to shame Three Lions. You're one of 3 that are using that. Thank you for taking care of this, and hopefully you'll work out a system with the other 2 involved as well. So thank you. Oh, can I move to approve? I'd like to move to approve 5F3.
And I'll second that.
Okay, motion by trustee Bachhorst, a second by trustee Warren. Any further discussion?
Sorry, I just want to echo trustee Bachhorst's comments. It's not meaning to shame any business at all. And I appreciate the quick compliance that's being put into place. We just want to make sure that concerns that have been raised to our attention are fully addressed and don't get lost in the shuffle.
Thank you, trustee Warren. Okay, Sarah, can you please take the roll?
Trustee Carpenter,
Aye.
trustee Ursink,
Aye.
trustee Bachhorst,
Aye.
trustee Stokebrand,
Aye.
trustee Menta,
Aye.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
president Rosick.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Does that consent agenda? Is that correct?
I'd like to reconsider the last item. I'm sorry. And the reason is I'd like it.
Are you moving to reconsider?
Yeah, because I'd like it based contingent upon making sure that those action steps happen that were promised.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
All right, so there's a motion to reconsider by trustee Bachhorst and a second by trustee Ursink. Any further discussion at the moment?
I mean, do we, I guess I would ask Bart, do we need to do, they're required to comply with the code and to fix, I guess, I view the 2 as separate and apart a little bit. They're required to comply with the code. Otherwise there's a different set of penalties, right? I mean, I guess I view the two as kind of as separate. I want this addressed, but I would think that if they're non-compliant by, I think we gave it till Tuesday, there's going to be a whole set of penalties that doesn't involve the parklet kind of by operation. Is that true?
I mean, that is how we would standardly review and approve a complaint. And so I don't need it attached to the parklet approval for me to move forward with it. But that really is, I guess, a consideration that the village board, if you wanted to, I believe that you could. I see Nathan has popped in here. I don't need that for me and my staff to pursue it. And if by chance they don't comply, we would pursue enforcement and citations and you know, the normal course of action. So I don't need that direction. I will proceed as we typically would, but I don't think that I can preclude you from considering such a motion. I don't know, Nathan, if you have a different thought than that, but that would be my perspective.
I think that answers the question. Why don't we just vote if we want to reconsider it, and then we can have further discussion of whether or not we need to change the motion. So go ahead, Sarah, and call the roll on motion to reconsider.
All right, this is to reconsider. Trustee Backhorse.
Yes.
Trustee Warren.
Nay.
Trustee Menta.
No.
Trustee Carpenter.
Nay.
Trustee Ursink.
Yes.
Trustee Stokerbrand.
Nay.
President Rosick.
No.
Motion fails 2-5.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is 6 items removed. No, we did that. 7, public hearing. There are none tonight. Number 8, citizens to be heard. Is there anybody who registered to speak tonight?
Nobody registered ahead of time, so if there's anybody that would like to speak, if you could either unmute yourself and state your name and address or raise your hand. Nobody. I think you can move on.
All right, so we'll move on to number 9, new business. 9A, consider liquor license for Ceviche. Is that how you pronounce it?
That is correct.
Okay, and who's here to speak on that?
I can start off if Trustee Carpenter wants to add anything from the JP&L meeting. So we received an application for a full liquor license. We did receive 3 applications within a week, so we are reviewing them in order that we receive them in the clerk's office, just to kind of give everybody a heads up on that. Ceviche is an established restaurant in Bayview, and they are looking to open a location in Shorewood in the old chocolate factory spot. So they do have an established restaurant. They would be open for dinner. I do not believe the applicant is on at this time. So he was flying back from Peru today and did not think he would make the meeting. But Carlos, if you are on, if you want to unmute yourself, and if not, Trustee Carpenter, if there's anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, the only thing I would like to add is that we did receive 3 applications. We, these would be our final 3 liquor licenses. So we had another applicant tonight at the JP&L committee meeting, and then the 2 that are on tonight. So we did vote 3-0 to approve Ceviche's liquor license.
Thank you. Did you take a vote on the other 2, just by any chance? Do you want to report that?
Yep. So the other restaurant is a restaurant. It's the next item on the agenda. That will be a high-end burger restaurant in the old Hayek's pharmacy space. And that vote was 2-1, with the conversation possibly being, could their restaurant model support just a beer and wine license. They wanted to have the ability to serve Bloody Marys for brunch was their request. And then, do you want me to report on the vote tonight earlier?
Go ahead and just say the last one. Did you vote on the
Sure.
last
In favor? Sorry, 2-1 in favor or opposed?
2-1 in favor. Yeah.
Okay.
And the vote
and then the one this evening was a wine sort of membership club concept. And that was 3-0 for the last liquor license, which would be moving to the board and at the next meeting. And we voted for that particular concept.
Okay, thanks for that update. That helps since they are the last three. And thank you, Sarah, for the summary of the business. Does any board member have a question?
And just to update everyone, so tonight, the two tonight are 2 regular licenses, and then the one coming up for the next meeting is our last reserve license. Just so there's a difference with the reserve license.
And their difference in price, correct?
10,000, yep.
Okay. Anybody have a question? All right, Trustee
Yeah.
Bockhorst. Yes.
Sorry. Thank you. So a couple of things. Only 2 are up for consideration tonight. It sounds like the wine membership club will come before us next meeting. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a little reminiscent for me, and I'm sorry not to trying to bring up bad vibes here, but of when we had the last 2 liquor licenses a couple years back, and Ruckus was one of them. And there was such a big hullabaloo about them being the last liquor license and everything else. And I think that we've all grown a lot in the last couple of years, and hopefully we can put away that kind of divisive kind of, characterization of certain businesses over the other. But my understanding is that these 2 liquor licenses will be our last 2 full liquor licenses, as I've said many times over the years, and others have as well, unless we do something to change state law, which the Tavern League will not get out of our way in this one. So we'll really have to do some hard work here, but we will have to wait until either another liquor license is surrendered, if we want to increase, if we have more interest in full liquor licenses, or we have to purchase them from neighboring municipalities. Whitefish Bay has told us no in the past. Glendale, I don't think is close enough, and Milwaukee, that would be really tricky. So I'm happy to hear that the JP&L committee was supportive of both. I can't wait. Yo hablo español. I've been to Peru. I love ceviche. I've never been to the ceviche restaurant here, but to be able to walk there, that's fantastic. Especially with, the pandemic and all these things waning. Cross my fingers. And then regarding the other one going into the Hayaks, wow, I don't know how many of you have seen the renovations that have been done to that building. It looks phenomenal. It's a great gateway to the beach. And then we have the surf shop and all of those businesses on Capitol now. I hope we'll be able to be activated, and perhaps, again, we won't have more full liquor licenses, but hopefully we'll have other shops and whatnot coming in there. And then I'm glad in committee, I understand it was a 2-1 vote for the burger shop. I think it's a lot. I love that you had the discussion, but I want to caution us to make decisions on businesses' operations when we're not. That's kind of outside of our purview, is to tell a restaurant or how they should make money. If they are asking us for a full liquor license and their business model supports the need for
Can we
that.
address that when we get to that agenda item?
So
Probably talking
we
right
are
now.
taking these together, aren't we? Are
No.
we taking these together?
No.
Oh, okay, whoops. Okay, so great. I support both liquor licenses. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there Trustee Stokebrand?
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get my mute. I move to approve the application for Class B intoxicating liquor and Class B malt beverage license for ceviche.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Stokebrand, a second by Trustee Bockhorst. Any further discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and take the roll call.
Trustee Ursink.
Yes.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Bockhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
President Rosick.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Please let the applicant know. Good luck with their establishment.
I will do so. Thank you.
We will then take up the next item of new business, and then we will take a bodily break. So it is 9B, consider liquor license for ATK.
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Yep. So this is the burger concept going into the Hayek pharmacy area. So they are looking for a full liquor license. to serve, so it'll be a lot of wine and beer, but they would like to be able to serve Bloody Marys and things on the side. I don't know, Kyle or Megan, if you are on this evening, if you wanted to unmute and say anything, and if not, if there's anything else, Trustee Carpenter, that you wanted to add from the JP&L report.
Sorry, I have to sneeze. No, I think we kind of covered it earlier,
Okay.
unless Trustee Amenta or Trustee Ursink has anything else, but I think that was everything.
So that's about it, unless anyone has questions.
Thanks. I do have some questions, but does anybody else have questions on the board? No. Do you have a question, Trustee Blackhorst?
I was gonna make a motion to approve the liquor license for whatever the establishment is called, the burger place at Hayek's.
I'll second that.
ATK, I believe.
ATK.
There's a motion by Trustee Bachhorst, a second by Trustee Warren. Further questions? I have one, Trustee Amenta. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, explain that we are talking about at our next meeting that we are giving away every single liquor license. So, I think we do need to make some hard decisions. This establishment is, it's not I remember asking about the menu, and it's like chicken, fried chicken or chicken fingers and burgers and sandwiches. It's casual, not fast food, but casual. The proprietor mentioned that he wanted to serve Bloody Marys on the weekends. But most people going out if I'm going out for like a nice meal, I don't, it makes sense to have a liquor license, or if you are a full service bar, something like that. But to give away, one of our last for an establishment that really just has, I don't know, kind of reminds me of the boozy shakes thing. I'm just like, do we really need to use an entire liquor license? Very scarce now because we only have 2 just for Bloody Marys. So that's why I voted no. It's nothing against burgers or this business owner or anything, but just that we only have 2 left. And if we have a full service restaurant or some other business like that come, well, we're gonna have to say no. So I think we need to be judicious in how we handle the remaining liquor licenses. So that's why I voted no, and I will vote no again.
Thank you. I would like to echo that and be consistent. I did vote no for the Ruckus liquor license when that came before us, for the simple reason that it was a burger establishment, and we only had 2 at that time, or 1 left, and we were giving both away. They were both up for the ask, and I do believe that we have residents who have waited and waited for a sit-down restaurant, and you can't get a sit-down restaurant without a liquor license. And so I do think we have some spaces that would be conducive to that, and I wouldn't want to waste an entire liquor license for weekend Bloody Marys at a burger joint. So I will be voting no as well. Trustee Bachhorst and then Trustee Stokbrand.
Thank you. So I retract my statement before. Yeah, we're having the same argument that we did about Ruckus, maybe without the $100,000 facade improvement grant portion of it. But I'll say what I said then. It's not incumbent upon us to determine, so you guys don't want, hey, I'm excited about Bloody Marys. I think a lot of people will be on their way to the beach or whatnot, but not everyone is in the same boat. They've renovated that space. It looks great. Liquor licenses, unless we have a policy, you guys, to arbitrarily say, oh, this is near the last one. If we want to look at things globally, for example, I'll give you an example of if we want to make sure the establishments that currently have liquor licenses are cleaning up and doing things, then we can have a little bit more teeth and a little bit more punch. But right now it's a first in, first out, until we have a different policy, or maybe this is going to be covered in some of the stuff coming from the Planning Commission or whatnot. But we have had years to come up with regulations governing liquor licenses, and we haven't done so as a board. So right now we're being asked to approve or not approve. And it sounds like a lot of anecdotal stuff. I like Bloody Marys. I like burgers. I like bougie burgers. But I would vote for this liquor license, even if it were a place that I didn't care for, which I'm a foodie, so I can't imagine what that is. But here's another thing. The bid has done a fantastic job in this municipality of recruiting businesses. It is a pandemic, you guys. And we have our last liquor licenses that are going away. We have a Mexican restaurant. How many years have any of us been on the board and otherwise said, hey, people say we want a Mexican restaurant? Yes, we do. And wait, that went into the old Ruckus place. Okay. Now we have a ceviche coming in, a Peruvian restaurant. This is great. We have a variety of different fare. And if people like to eat burgers, which we know they do because Culver's line is around the block, then by all means, let them eat burgers. So anyway, I can't wait to vote. Yes, I can't wait for both of these establishments. And I look forward to this wine member club as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bockhorst. Trustee Sokran, then Trustee Ursink, and then Trustee Amenta.
So what's the situation with the Blues Egg liquor license? What happens when it's vacant? How long do they get to reopen, or they relinquish? What's the process?
I reached out to them because we're in our phase of sending out renewal forms to see what their status is. So they emailed us about a year ago at this time, saying that they were going to close for another concept, and then COVID happened. So you have, if they don't operate for 90 days, you do have the ability to consider the revocation process. So that is something that the board could consider. They have been closed now for a year, but they have not returned or been responsive to my email or phone call at this time.
And that's a full liquor license?
That is a full liquor license. It is a full reserve liquor license.
And if we did not approve the ATK, what would be the process for them to come back for just a beer and wine license? Is it complicated?
Nope, they would have to go and reapply. It would be republished. It would go back to JP&L and then back to the village board. So it would just push them out about a month or so.
You can do JP&L at the same night though, correct? Like we did tonight.
We could, in that instance. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, can I just ask, do we need to put on future agenda items? Is that how we would go about asking for the license back from Blue Egg after a year? Is that the right process?
I believe so. Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong. They would just ask for a future agenda item to review the Blues Egg liquor license.
I think that would be the appropriate process. And the first step would be to determine whether or not it has been used within the time frame identified in the local ordinance. And then there would be a discussion about how to notify the establishment or the license holder and have a discussion with them and whether or not they might voluntarily relinquish the license, or whether or not proceedings would need to be initiated pursuant to the ordinance.
Thank you. I'll bring it up in future agenda items. So that was Trustee Stokebrand. Is your hand still raised, or are you done? Okay. Trustee, I think it was Ursink.
Yep. I guess I'm just curious to the two board members that are opposing of this. How do you make the decision to actually give somebody the liquor license then? Like who fits the model, and how do you decide this is the restaurant or this is the group that I'm going to give it to? It seems like we're playing favoritism. And what if there's connections behind the scenes that we don't know about? I think when you've got a situation that's first come, first serve, you're eliminating any kind of favoritism. You're eliminating any of that. And we don't have businesses coming to us in 2 years saying we want to be here in 2 years. I mean, we have that Hayek spot has been open since, for years now, so I look at it, this is a fantastic opportunity to fill our business district for businesses that want to be here. And, these liquor licenses come and go. I mean, the last thing we need is a full service bar in this community. I think we've got enough of that. No offense to the bars, but I think we're covered on bars, so I think let's take a chance on young startup entrepreneurs that want to create their first business, that want to do it here in Shorewood, and that want to bring that energy and that passion that they have here to produce something like this. I think it's a fantastic idea, and to say no because somebody better might come along is just such, it's, you know, it's not right. You
Like a
know,
response?
not right.
Heard that 4 years ago with Ruckus.
I'll respond to your question. We don't have a policy. We don't have a policy that says first come, first serve. You have to say yes. So without a policy, we utilize our discretion as elected officials, each and every one of us. I think I stated my reasons of why I prefer to not give a liquor license to a establishment that is going to use it for one drink on the weekends. There are other establishments we did it with Ruckus. I voted no, and the concept didn't work out. So that's my opinion, and I've offered it. Trustee Menta, would you like to respond?
You're on mute.
You need to unmute, sorry.
Sorry, if you look at the board report, there's a list of items, I believe under state law, that we are entitled to consider. And they're very, they range everything from the background of the applicant, closeness to a school, past experience of the applicant, and the overall effect on the Shorewood community of the use of the license at the proposed location. So our discretion is really broad, and that's under state law. So, you know, we don't need a policy. So anyway, and I'll just say, when I was first on the board, you know, the prior village manager was, you know, really kind of hoarded liquor licenses. And I suspect that he told people no before it even got to the board. It was not a first come, first serve, because he very much wanted to have a sit down dinner type establishment. And so I mean, it wasn't a formal policy, but I would say it was the practice at that time that we were really careful about handing out all the liquor licenses. I also just want to correct Trustee Bockhorst, because I did ask specifically, and I believe I asked both of these business owners in committee if they were recruited by the bid, and I don't believe either of them were. I don't think the bid had anything to do with either of these businesses coming into Shorewood. So I just wanted
I think the bid has something to do with these businesses, because we develop a really vibrant business district.
Thank you, Trustee Ursink. You have not been called upon.
I'm saying
raise
that
your
the
hand.
bid did not specifically recruit
I see you,
either of
Steph.
these businesses.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Menta. Go ahead, Steph. I see you have your hand raised, and then Trustee Bockhorst and Trustee Ursink. Steph?
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
As far as the new restaurant Ceviche goes, Bart and I actually had been working with Carlos's wife, Megan, over the winter to try to get her to be able to pop up into the former sandwich shop, and we couldn't make a temporary pop-up work out because of all the rules for health departments and serving food. So Megan, you know, mentioned to her husband, Carlos, that the space was available. So that is one reason and one way that the bid was involved in this. And then as far as the Hayek building, I've been talking to Elon, you know, on and off for months, trying to help him out. And I was the first person to get an email from him asking him about whether or not liquor licenses were available. And that's when I started the conversation with Sarah, and we have since moved forward. So a little bit involved in some of this stuff. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for your efforts in the village. I believe it was Trustee Bockhorst, and then Trustee Ursink, and then Trustee Carpenter.
Thank you. So I think we could probably go round and round on this all night, you guys. We do have quite a few places that are sit down in Shorewood: Bonobo, Harry's, Nana's, Three Lions. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some of these guys have left. I'm not sure, but it's exciting. It's great. Thank you to the bid for putting together a variety of options and opportunities, and the board members as well, and people in the past, because this is a destination spot. This is something we had been trying to achieve. And when we hit what is the name of the paper, the local one, very progressive paper. Well, anyway, when they published us as a destination spot back in 2015, I can tell you I was extremely excited. Maybe it was 2016. So we're going to have it's great that we have so much interest. I also don't want to recreate or try to fashion together what someone was intending in the past or whatever. We're not in the past. We're right here, right now. What other village managers may or may not have been doing based on our own interpretations it doesn't matter. We have Rebecca right now. We've got this village board. We've got this bid board. We've got the community that wants this kind of stuff. So let's continue forward. And sure, Trustee Amenta brought up a great point regarding discretion as far as boards are concerned, and as far as state laws, some of the things that we don't do that some other municipalities do, and maybe staff does this behind the scenes, but usually police reports are something that's big. Do these businesses have, what is their track record in other municipalities, et cetera? We don't really put them to the task the way that I've seen other municipalities thoroughly evaluate some of the prospective business owners. And I'm not saying that we do that because we do or don't like burgers, or we think that some certain, fare delicacies should be represented here. No, that's up to the consumer more, but it's more about their practices in business. And again, I'm not trying to pick on Three Lions, but that's why before I was, when we have opportunities to ensure compliance in a variety of regards, we should take them, especially on the easiest part is on the front end when someone's applying for a license before they get occupancy, before everything else. That's when we can make the most change. Not in the kind of food they serve. That's all our own perspective and our own, I forget the word, based on our own subjectivity. Okay. But do they meet the requirements for the village? Yes. All the other things, they satisfy it. So anyway, I'm ready to vote yes. But if more people want to talk, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the fact that we have a vibrant business community. I'm excited that we're talking again about the last liquor licenses. I'm sure we'll have this conversation over and over. But anyway, let's go.
Thank you, Trustee Bachhorst. Trustee Ursink?
I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the liquor license.
We actually already have a motion.
Oh, there is already.
There's a motion in a second.
Okay, so much discussion. Jesus. Okay.
Okay, Trustee Carpenter?
Yeah, I definitely really see both sides of this conversation. And the thing that I think I struggle with the most is that we have a business that is here and that they are ready to do business in our community and ready to occupy a vacant storefront. And so, do I think it's ideal that we have a limit on how many liquor licenses we have in our community? No. I think we're stuck in a difficult place, but I also really, I am excited that we have a business that wants to be here. And so would I love it if they could just serve beer and wine? Yes. But I also know that restaurant margins are pretty slim and that they, this is something that they want to do. So, that is those are the sort of issues that I'm challenged with, and that I'm sort of balancing and deciding between, because, having someone here is great. And I also see the value in, being able to provide a liquor license to somebody else down the road. The only question I had actually, Sarah, is if someone applies for a beer and wine license and then a full liquor license becomes available, like if they're already in business, do they just have to come back before the board to reapply? And okay.
Yep. So anybody that has a beer and wine license, if something comes available, they can apply then.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Carpenter. I see Attorney Bear has something to add.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a few comments concerning the criteria for denial. So it's true that Wisconsin courts have held that the law doesn't confer upon an otherwise qualified candidate an absolute right to a license. However, they've also said that decisions to deny cannot be arbitrary or capricious, and they must be founded on what they refer to as a rational basis. Just to give you some examples of types of denials that have been upheld, reasons for denial that have been upheld include concern for the public health, safety, and general welfare of the community. Keep also in mind, when a governing body decides not to issue a new license, it must notify the applicant in writing and set forth the reasons for the denial. And then there's an appeal process that up to circuit court that can be taken. And I think, Sarah, this, if Sarah can help me out here, I think this question of, well, can we just hold the last license because something better might come along? I think over the years, the Department of Revenue has put out various communiques to clerks around the state and have basically said that that's not a valid reason to deny the license. Sarah, can you help me with that?
It could be challenged in court more, especially if you don't have like a master plan identifying, you want an Italian restaurant and you want a Mexican restaurant and you only want 3 bars and you only want this. So it's something that somebody could challenge in court, if that's a reason for denial. If there's, besides some of the other pieces that go with it.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
I do have a question for you, Attorney Bear. We did have this same dialogue during the ruckus discussion and about burgers, and there was criteria in front of us, and I remember specifically pointing to one of the criterias and utilizing that for the same exact argument. So I feel pretty comfortable in my vote. Thank you. Is there any other comments or discussion? If not, Sarah, can you read the motion and go ahead and call the roll?
Yep, to approve the application for a Class B intoxicating liquor and Class D malt beverage license for ATK LLC at 4003 North Downer Avenue, and to direct the clerk to issue the license upon approval of occupancy with planning and development. Trustee Amenta.
No.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Yes.
President Rosick.
No.
Motion passes 5-2.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to well, actually, we are going to, if it's okay with everyone, take a 10-minute break. It's 9:21. We'll return at 9:32.
Anyone still by their computer, we got a new addition to the family this week. This is what you might hear in the background.
Oh my goodness, Pablo got a little sibling.
Yeah, little sister. She's
Oh my gosh.
she's sleeping through the night now, which is a godsend. But
Yeah, I literally was gonna ask you that.
yeah, this is the nice version before she bites him. Oh, the mouthing is started with the super sharp teeth. So okay, Daisy.
So we know Daisy likes you. How does Daisy like Pablo? And how does Pablo like Daisy?
Pablo could not be more indifferent to this little dog. Pablo is trying to pretend his little sister doesn't exist right now.
How old
Daisy
is
really
Pablo?
wants to play. Pablo has no interest whatsoever.
How old is Pablo?
He's about 6.
Oh,
So he's way past being a puppy.
Oh, give him time. He might warm up.
Yeah, maybe they'll end up besties.
Oh, okay. Okay, now she's biting my ear, so she's gonna go back in her puppy playpen and my hair. Okay, ow, ow.
All right, welcome back. Is everybody here? Do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3. I think we have 4 of us.
Yep.
All right. We'll call this village board meeting back to order. It is 9:32. We are now on new business 9C. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Consider resolution to extend TID 1 for affordable housing. Rebecca, this is, you can explain, it's just routine.
Just affirming the decision that you made at the last meeting as a requirement for the state.
Okay, so Trustee Carpenter.
I was ready to make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the resolution approving a tax incremental district affordable housing extension for the village of Shorewood, TID number 1.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee Carpenter, a second by Trustee Bockhorst. There really should be no discussion. Is there any questions? Trustee Bockhorst.
I just want to say again how great this is for our village, and that I appreciate that many of you have gone back on your TID promise of closing out TID 1 early or in a timely manner so that we could do this, because if we did not have tax incremental financing, we would not have this opportunity. And the myth of TIF, like it or not, it's this is a great opportunity for us. So I can't wait.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Trustee Menta.
I hesitate to respond because I think all of us are just hoping that we can get to the end of this meeting before midnight. And we're going to have a difficult time if Trustee Bockhorst keeps with the pace of commenting that she's doing on every single item. However, I never promised that I would not extend a TIF. I only promised that I would not vote for any new TIFs, and I haven't. So I just want to correct the record.
Thank you so much, Trustee Menta. So with no further ado, can you please take the roll?
Yes. Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Bockhorst.
Yes.
President Rosick.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Thanks to the board for that unanimous vote. We now will go to 9D, consider award of contract for 2021 alley reconstruction program. Leanne or Rebecca? Hi.
Good evening. We received bids for the 2021 alley reconstruction project. A total of 3 came in. The low bid was submitted by Poblocki Paving in the amount of $642,579. Which is well below the amount that was earmarked for this project in the long-range financial plan. While the village has not worked with Poblocki in the past, our examination of the bid and research into their past projects leads us to believe that they are the lowest, most responsible bidder, and we recommend the award of contract to Poblocki.
Thank you. Leanne, I believe this was addressed maybe at the last meeting, but I still don't understand. We would like to do $750,000 worth of alley work if that means more alleys because we have a lower bid. Is there a way we can avoid, can we have add-ons? So if it does come in, if the bid comes in, that we've engineered another alley to get it done?
Not at this point. We engineered more alleys than we actually thought we would be able to fund with the money available. We had to drop one of those alleys because of some significant drainage work that was going to require easements and activity with adjacent property owners that we would not be able to achieve in the time frame allotted before construction. So these are the alleys that we have engineered design for. And these are the only alleys this year that we will be able to construct.
I'm just saying for future years, I won't be on the board, but I mean, if this may happen again, and how can we pay more money and design more alleys so that when this happens, we're still constructing $750,000 worth of alleys? I mean, the pace of the alleys is going to be 40 years by the time we get them all done. So if we have the money, I would like to be in a position that we could execute.
That's certainly an option that we can present to the village board the next time we do an alley program.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Carpenter.
Leanne, I don't think you were at our budget meeting, but our budget committee, that was sort of our same kind of question and dialogue because we dropped the one alley.
Oh, we can't hear you, Trustee Carpenter. Sorry, it's not. Go ahead.
I don't know what's going on. No, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
We
okay.
can hear you better. Like we could hear you right at the end of that, Jessica.
Yeah, Trustee Carpenter, if you want to try. I don't know if she can hear us. Okay, does anyone else have comments at the time? Trustee Stokebrand.
I don't see a map that shows which alleys they are, but that was in the most recent communication before this, the ones that showed which ones made the cut for 2021. And
Correct. There is no change from our last conversation, which your approval of the scope of the alleys to be bid. That was every alley with the exception of alley A, which was the alley that we had drainage issues with.
it was up in the northwest.
There are alleys in the northwest area. There is one which I would consider to be in the northeast area. There's another in what I would consider to be the southeast area. There is a link in the memo that would get you that map. It was not included as an attachment, but it is linked.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Carpenter.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm sorry, I was having some technical difficulties, but so what I was saying was during the budget committee meeting, we were talking kind of about what President Rosick was saying, and I'm sorry if I missed a few comments in between, but when that other alley dropped off, if there's any way just so we can get through the alleys that we can have a few others sort of planned and waiting in the wings, as President Rosick had mentioned, engineering for them in advance. I'm not sure, again, what you would suggest. But, obviously this was, a good problem to have, that the estimate came in significantly under budget. But, I just think it would be nice to be able to use those funds if possible. And then the other thing I will just say, sorry, I look like I'm reclining. I had knee surgery and I have to have my knee in this thing so I can sit and make it through the meeting. So
Thank you so much. Hope you're feeling better. Leanne, is that something that we can do with the extra money? Can we utilize the money that we saved this year for engineering more alleys for next year? Or the
We
following
do
year?
not have an alley construction program scheduled for next year.
I
We
mean,
do not have alleys scheduled for construction again on the long-range financial plan until 2025.
2025. Okay. All right. So the money just falls to the bottom line. Is that correct?
That I would defer that response to Mark. I believe that the long-range financial plan earmarked the funding for this project as a bonding. I'm not sure if that bond has been let, or if that is to come, but I really would prefer Mark give that response.
Mark.
I don't know that he's on the call or on the meeting at this point, but we can certainly get you that information.
Oh, I see him. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, again, we borrow for purpose. Any unspent monies from this bonding can carry forward to future projects or be used as an offset to reduce future borrowing.
Okay. So we did borrow for it. Okay. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Trustee Stokebrand.
So I just looked at the map that was in the link, and that was from May of 2020. So is that the one? Does that show the map, the alley? I'm sorry, that didn't make the cut due to the engineering issues?
Alley A is the alley that will not be constructed. That will be rolled into 2025, which will give us the opportunity to correct those drainage issues and work with the adjacent property owners to get an easement for that drainage.
Alley A is in Apple.
Right. It is an alley that serves Pinedale.
Okay, thank you.
can I make a suggestion too, just to consider the board members? 4 years without alley construction is a long time. People are, I mean, that's one of the highest, when I became a board member, one of the highest concerns of our residents was alley reconstruction, because we haven't done a full reconstruction cycle since 40 years. So in 2025, are we budgeting double for it? I mean, how are we making up for?
Yes, we are. And the reason we do not have anything scheduled until 2025 is because we're contemplating constructing about $12 million worth of sewer improvements. We simply do not have staff capacity to administer that volume of construction projects.
Even with our new construction supervisor?
Even with our new construction supervisor.
It's a shame. Okay, anything else? Seeing, yes, Trustee Buckhorst.
Yeah, thank you. I am happy to hear this. Happy that we're commencing with this. I know we've kicked around a lot of things, including special assessments. Going forward, we're going to have some real tough budget years, so we might have to look at those, you know, because we spent on reserves and a variety of things. But anyway, I'm ready to support this tonight. So thank you.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, go ahead and take the roll call.
I actually don't have a motion.
Oh, I need a motion. Trustee Stokebrand.
Oops, sorry, wrong page. I move to award the contract for the 2021 alley reconstruction project to Poblocki Paving in the amount of $642,579.00.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Sarah, go ahead and call the roll.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Bockhorst.
Yes.
President Rosick.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Great, thank you. Next item on our agenda is 9E, review Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Shorewood Waterworks Sanitary Survey Report. Leanne?
So the Department of Natural Resources conducts what they term a sanitary survey of municipal drinking water systems every 3 years. The inspection includes focuses on our distribution system, our monitoring, our sampling, and how we report those results, the management of our water system and the operations, and then operator certification and training. A copy of that report is included in your packets. We are required as a part of that response to review the report with the village board. So I just want to call to your attention some of the comments in the report. The report did identify 2 significant deficiencies. You may recall that those were also identified in the sanitary survey that we had 3 years ago. And those are both directly related to the meter replacement program. And both will be addressed in August with the beginning of the implementation of that program. Those include cross-connection inspections, and then the meter, the actual replacement of the meters themselves. The report also addressed a non-conforming feature, which is the meter vaults at Oakland and Edgewood, which is our secondary source connection. And as you know, that structure is identified for replacement in the village's long-range financial plan, and that is currently scheduled for 2025. There are also a number of recommendations outlined in the report. Those are listed in your memo. Staff has addressed a timeline to address those items. Many of them I would consider to be of the housekeeping nature. And so administratively, staff will address the vast majority of those. I would say that the one that really involves direct board action is their recommendation for the hiring of additional utility staff. So that will be something that we will propose to you in the 2022 budget discussions. The village's response under my signature is also included in your packets.
Thank you. I have a question about Trustee Warren. Oh, you're on mute, Trustee Warren.
There we go. Just a quick question. I noted that we have 2 significant deficiencies, and we've promised the expectation of the work will be completed by February 2nd, 2022. Return to compliance with these items by March 1st, 2022. I am not anticipating this, but in the event that that something happens with the pandemic, something unexpected, I'm assuming that they would be flexible with those deadlines in the event that we couldn't move forward with this program in August.
At this point, I would actually not anticipate any additional flexibility from them. I've had that conversation, and they've pointed out that this was identified in the previous sanitary survey. And while COVID certainly rearranged everyone's timelines and schedules a bit, their point was that we had ample opportunity to address these prior to COVID.
Oh, well.
So I think, and we had this discussion when we talked about rescheduling the meter replacement program. This was one of the driving factors in staff's recommendation that we be in this in August.
Okay, good to know. I expected that to go the other way, but good to know at least that we don't have much flexibility on that.
Thank you, Trustee Warren. Trustee Stokbrand.
Looking at page 4 of the document 265 of the packet, I just have a question about number 4, lead and copper services, something being required in 2024.
Yeah, so the EPA's new lead and copper rule goes into effect in 2024. At that point, the indications that we're getting based on that rule and what the DNR is likely to enforce is that partial replacements of lead service lines will no longer be allowed, meaning the lead service replacement program and protocol that we have in place right now will need to be modified and amended. That is something that staff is working on, and I would anticipate within the next year that we will be coming back to the board to have that discussion and a proposal for the steps that we will need to take as a community to address lead service replacement, financial impacts on that, operational impacts on that, staffing impacts. It's a pretty big nut to crack, but it is something that we are working on and we will most certainly have in place well before that 2024 deadline.
And so just can you tell, as if, let's say someone owns a house, and what would that mean to that homeowner? Are we talking about the line from the main to the house?
The village owns the service from the main to the curb stop. The property owner owns the service behind the curb stop into and through the house. Under EPA's new rule and what I expect the DNR will codify, when the village replaces its portion of the service, the property owner will be required to replace their portion of the service. Right now, we are doing that and encouraging that on a voluntary basis. Based on my understanding of this rule, the village will have to change its ordinance and require that replacement. It will no longer be voluntary. Homeowners will not have an option. It will flat out be required.
And so would that be at the homeowner's cost?
That's a conversation for the village board.
And I'm assuming that would mean sidewalks, lawn, landscaping, whatever it takes to get from the curb stop into your house.
Currently, the way we are doing them, we are not doing an open cut on those service replacements. We're boring those which is much less intrusive. And I would, I think that's most everyone's method of choice, just because it, like I said, it's far less intrusive.
But does it end up being more expensive?
It's comparable.
Okay.
I think it varies, everybody's house is a little bit different, but for the most part, it's comparable cost.
And this is a program that would take years to, over the course of, let's say 10 years, you do the village.
I think that 10 years would be an incredibly aggressive timeline.
Okay.
I would expect that it will take longer than that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Stokbrand. I do have a question, and then, or Trustee Bachhorst, do you have your hand raised?
I do, thank you. So Leanne, you had mentioned that when these are replaced, the residents will be responsible for their portion. I imagine, and you had said this before, oops, sorry, that that's a discussion for a later date, but just reminding everyone that we do have financing options that we presented for the sidewalk replacement, because we were finding that a lot of residents were hit with a rather significant bill. And I imagine we can explore some of those options as well. But anyway, I'm ready to move on.
Thank you. Leanne, you had mentioned about utility staff and potentially having a recommendation of increasing our staff. And it seems like every budget season we're increasing staff for DPW. But isn't it true that we just split our utility staff? Like we just change how much, it's just current DPW and then how we allocate those hours to utility or not? Or is there dedicated utility staff?
There are dedicated utility staff who do some work in DPW. That work is primarily done in winter operations. We have not increased DPW staff in the time that I've worked here. And we've made no significant changes to the allocation of hours between utility staff and general DPW staff in the last budget.
Not in the last budget, maybe it was 2 budgets ago. I just remember there was allocation shifts between utility, what we were charging to utilities when, especially when the TIFs closed, but I could be wrong. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, do you want to, is there a roll call, a motion?
There's no need for a motion. It's just an update.
Update, okay. All right, we'll then move on to the next agenda item.
Thank you, Ann.
Did someone say something? No, okay. It is 9F, consider parking and software management vendor award. Rebecca or Mark.
Sure, I'd be happy to introduce this topic. This goes back to last fall. We tried to provide a opportunity to make a switch at that point in time in order really to accommodate the board's limit of 2 on-street parking passes per household. That would require a new software program. Our current vendor's software initial agreement expired a year and a half ago at this point. So we're really not constrained by any existing agreements. The board's decision at that time was that staff should prepare an RFP and seek a wider range of bids. We did do that. We ended up receiving 7 proposals to that and responses to that bid. I've outlined the vendor names and annual cost estimates in the memo. Clearly all the respondents said that they believe that they could generally meet the requirements of our identified in our proposals. So at staff level, we did take a interview and product demonstration of all respondents. So we had 7 demonstrations to go through in the last few weeks here. At the end of that process, it was a universal opinion of staff that the best rated respondent for For what we use the system for would be EDC and their Ames software program. That is staff's recommendation. We also wanted to share with the board the second rated and what would be potentially a tied third and fourth based on the presentations and the capabilities of the various systems and product demonstrations that we reviewed.
Thanks, Mark. And can you just outline what made this company stand out as the best? Like, what was the deciding factor?
Well, I don't know if there's any one deciding factor. All these systems have a lot of extensive interactions behind the scenes, different customer interfaces, different processes. I think the two things that stood out in my mind on this particular vendor was the ease of use, both at the front end for the customer and administratively with customer service and police personnel. And then, the cost was a factor in our overall rating. And the cost point for this was not the lowest, was in the second lowest grouping of responding applicants. So those were the two factors I think that were primary contributors to the group feeling that these were the best possible vendors with the information we had.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mark on the software? Trustee Carpenter.
When you guys were looking at the software, and I know that there were some emails about this today, but is there where we are the people or the elected officials are representing residents, and I'm feeling like I just don't have quite enough information because I haven't seen what residents will see. I haven't seen the interface. When you guys went through the RFP process and looking at vendors, did you guys have the ability to look and touch and feel all of the interfaces? Just based on all of the feedback we've heard from the previous system and all the challenges that we've had, I feel like that's really important information.
Yeah, I think that all the proposals, even the Duncan's proposal, was really a next generation software package. Had more flexibility than some of the systems, say 10 years ago when we originally were starting to look at these types of platforms. Again, it was a product demonstration. We didn't have hands-on per se. But again, we were trying to be extremely diligent in our defining our expectations in the RFP document. So as we reviewed the written proposals and their responses in that regard, we did have follow-up questions for everybody to make sure that everybody was on the same page, as well as once in a while we'd have a couple of vendor specifics that we would ask during these demonstrations. And again, it was pretty clear that the recommended vendor had exceptional customer interfaces as well as behind the scenes capabilities to really eliminate some of the challenges we had with our original implementation.
Trustee Carpenter, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I think it would have been nice to have had some trustee on this particular RFP, just because, and I know that in our emails it was explained the timelines. I definitely understand that, but I just think of course, hindsight's 2020, so I definitely get that. But this one, we want parking to be a success, and I just want to make sure that it works for all parties involved. It needs to work for staff, and it needs to work for residents. And if it doesn't work for both parties, it doesn't work. So I just think, we have somebody who's going to be, we have a trustee who's going to be on the RFP, in the RFP process for the the equipment transition. What's the word?
The AV,
Thank you.
The video AV for Village
Thank
Hall.
you. Thank you. It's 10 o'clock. So, I think this is a really important decision, and that would have been nice, but here we are. So we have to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Carpenter. Trustee Stokebrand, then Trustee Bachhorst.
Yeah, this is just a small detail. You talk about the existing LPR equipment. Is that in the police department or customer service, or what is it? Are those?
Yes, that's a license plate reading equipment that's on
Oh.
the parking checker vehicle.
Thank you.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Thank you. So yeah, I appreciate this work. I know that it's been ongoing and long going and well deserved for our municipality to have the overnight parking. We've had to make changes. I guess one of the reasons that we are required to get new software is because the restriction of 2 per household. So I guess it would be if this board wanted to maybe just open it up and do more than 2 per household. It sounds like we could meet our current need or our needs with our existing platform that the contract is expired, so we could have a little bit more time. That would be one solution. But also just going forward, we did go through a process. Having trustees in the RFP process is a very new thing that I've seen. It's been only in the last couple of years on this board. And I hope that as we go forward, leadership will, work with the village staff and also work with us as trustees to get us there so that we can trust that the needs of the residents are being met by the individuals that are here. So anyway, I'm ready to vote on it tonight. I understand that nothing's perfect. If you guys want to postpone this, all right, fine too. We just allow more, in the interim. I don't think that, I don't have a problem with this. So anyway, it is 10 o'clock and I know that other people might want to say as many words as I do too. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Bachhorst. Trustee Warren, Trustee Stokebrand, and then I will ask my questions.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, but I guess I would just echo some of the things that have been said. It would be nice to see the user interface of this and just have a little bit more insight into that, because we will, with all these changes, we will get questions. We're at the front line of getting questions, so it'd be nice to see what the tool looks like, and maybe that went out in the email today. So I apologize if I missed that, but it'd be nice to have. That said, I thank you for your work on this. I'm fine voting on it tonight, but maybe some work on the back end to make sure that we are well versed in what the user interface looks like, just in case we get questions directly as opposed to it coming to the village.
Thank you, Trustee Warren. Trustee Stokebrand.
I move to approve the selection of the EDC Corporation's proposed AIMS parking management system as the village's citation and parking permit management services provider.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Stokebrand, second by Trustee Warren. I'll ask my questions. So my understanding from being involved in the parking or asking for parking changes since I've been on the board is that Duncan was very costly and our current provider. So although I do agree that we limit necessarily 2 per household and we don't need, I just don't think that's the only reason that we went out for RFP for the new software. Saying that, there were a couple of things that the residents had complained about with the Duncan experience. I'm just wondering if they've been addressed with the new provider. So first, I guess, is our new requirement of this 2 per household. Is it easy? Is it going to be very easy and very timely to screen for that with the software? Like it's going to be able to handle it and it's not going to be an extra step or cause time delay?
Right, the customer will not be directly involved in that situation unless there's a conflict where there's already more than two permits. So the board did not require any documentation to be provided in their motions, but the system will be configured so that if there is more than 2 permits out there per address, that will require a staff intervention to evaluate.
And it addresses per apartment, right? Or per unit?
Per living unit, yes.
Okay. And the second was there was some kind of shutdown, like a time where you couldn't go online after a certain time frame. Residents couldn't get their pass after 1 or something like that for their 20 those 20 passes. These will still have the 20 passes, correct? And is this the same thing where you can't get online after a certain period of time?
No, this solution is a live update, so there will not be batch processing cutoffs. So as long as they sign up for the pass before the Jeep goes by, they'll be flagged as being permitted in the system.
Okay, and lastly, were there less costly fees for anything? Meaning, I know we pay a fee per transaction, whether it be on the police side or the ticket writing side or the collection side. Are those still in place?
Yes, I mean, there's was a multitude of pricing methodologies presented. What I did is I used our baseline data largely from the analytics we did to help the board in their discussion for this topic and on-street parking, and we converted them all to a standard cost relationship. So at the end of the day, these are the standardized costs based on those assumptions that we put forth in the metrics for the parking review. And in this particular case, there are no additional user fees or anything like that. It's pretty much a flat rate to the village. So, so that should be pretty predictable.
And then my last question is, whenever we would make changes in Duncan, like we wanted to customize it in any way, it was very, very expensive. I remember we changed the fee. We got rid of the fee for a year and it was like 14 grand or something ridiculous to make that change in the system. Is that the same for this, or do we get a certain amount of customizations for free? Or
well, again, this system and most of the other systems are far more adaptable now. They don't really rely on back-end programming as much as they do with things that are commonly referred to as business rules. So a lot more flexible to be adaptive over the long term. So but we don't anticipate having those types of challenges with the new system.
okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions? Trustee Menta.
Yeah, okay, so when we tried to add the $1 per 20 nights free parking permissions, we wanted to like give the first 20 free and then or the first 10 free, and then after that make it $2, and we were told we couldn't because of Duncan. So is this system going to be able to do things like that?
Yeah, I believe it should. I mean, again, there's a business rule that enforces the fees, quantities, frequencies. I don't see that being as it might be a little challenging to work it through, but certainly not to any extent that that we would have encountered with our current platform.
And is there an app that people can download and use their phones?
Yes.
And we've been talking JP&L about open records requirements, and that our data needs to be stored in a manner in which we can easily answer questions about number of permits, whatever types of questions people might have. So I guess the question is, how flexible and easy is it going to be able to extract data that might be requested in an open records request?
I think the reporting capabilities of this system were one of the more robust. Every system has limits depending on the specific nature of the request, but I think we're going to be able to have a lot easier access to information and running reports and inquiries in the new platform than we did even requesting the current provider to write specific report criteria. So it's one of the things that we really do gain going to the next generation.
Yeah, I share some of Trustee Carpenter's concerns. I mean, this is, I mean, for people who are going to be buying, for example, people have complained to me that they have to go every month and buy a permit. So I know I read the report, that's the board report said that you'd be able to do, or at least the RFP said, can you do 6-month permits, 4 months, 8 months, whatever. So I think there would be that capability, correct? But
Yes,
I
and even in the current system, there was a capability to purchase multiple months of permits, but in the transition, we asked that to be limited to 1 month at a time, just so we don't get overcommitted with people purchasing in advance and then we transfer to a different system. So, but yes, definitely much more flexible, a lot of different options here. And again, if the real issue becomes, how far do you want to allow permits to be purchased? And then what is our policy going to be when somebody says, I changed my mind, I want a refund. So that happens a lot more than we would probably think, but it is an administrative issue. And certainly some of those parameters as we get into implementation, we'll vet with staff and perhaps even look to the board to provide their perspective on those as well.
Right. I mean, I have to agree with Trustee Carpenter that, this is a really important, I mean, this is the interface that residents are going to have with the parking system. So it's, I would have really liked to have had the opportunity to see the presentations from some of the different vendors, because I do think that's a perspective that, that's what I think future trustees are going to be most concerned with, because that's, what people are going to complain about or be happy about. So I just, I'm disappointed in, I know that we said, yeah, go ahead and do it without bringing us the RFP, but I believe that was in the context of trying to get it done by January. And then when we had a more normal amount of time, I think there would have been a little more opportunity to get input from the board and involve us. So I don't have enough information to say yes or no on this. So that's my feeling about it.
Understood.
Mark, can you, oh God, what was I going to just say? It'll come to me as soon as the vote goes down, but yeah, I can't remember.
Well, I will follow up and just say staff has a very vested interest in making sure the residents have a good experience using this platform. Obviously, nobody likes to have a resident contact them to do what should be a pretty straightforward process, especially once you've done it once. So again, almost all of these platforms have made enhancements since in the last 10 years, and we're extremely hopeful that these will be some very positive changes as far as be a little more intuitive with the residents and whoever else might be requesting a permit.
Thank you. Do we have Trustee Backhorst?
Yes, thank you. And forgive me, these are some great questions that many of you have asked, so I appreciate that. And forgive me if you covered this. I did lose track for a second. I'm wondering, you had mentioned before, maybe it was Trustee Amenta that had asked if people reserve this, is this in real time? Because one of the difficulties with Duncan is that you have to know by 1 o'clock or midnight whether or not you're moving your car. And I think that creates unsafe behaviors, et cetera. So.
No, these are real-time updates for the visitor pass.
Okay, fantastic. And then, and that was one of the biggest concerns that I heard from a variety of people, but so I'm really excited. It's nothing's going to be perfect. This is a vast improvement over Duncan. I have been very disappointed with Duncan over many years, including the time that we did have to go to the $2 per night, and just their user interface has been so subpar. And I think it was Trustee Amenta had mentioned an app. They didn't have an app, and you had to scroll on the screen. And if you inputted one piece of data incorrectly, you got kicked out and had to redo the whole thing. And then when you're fighting the clock to get that permission in by a said time, that was really frustrating. So this is something that, you know, for residents as well as their visitors and stuff like that, especially again, when we have 54% of people who live in apartments or in rental units in this municipality, that, you know, parking is key. So thank you.
Mark, I did remember what my question was, and I think it's more for Rebecca. Rebecca, that I believe we did tell everyone they can only have 2 passes per household from the beginning of the change, but we didn't have the software in place to actually monitor that. And so if we find, as we're inputting stuff into the new system, that a household has more than 2 permits currently, what is a plan to do? What are we going to do about that, or anything?
Well, I can.
Or Mark, yeah.
I can, you know, we don't expect that to be a significant issue. We knew it, we all know it's a general concern, particularly in a long-term strategy of the housing market being so close to the university. You know, again, if we find that there's a situation when we convert and start implementing the new system, you know, we're gonna need to take a look at that and just make some decisions. You know, and again, we may come to the board. I don't know if the board wants to be involved in finding that we've got 3 properties with 3 permits.
I think it just has, well, what I wanted to say was, I do think board input would probably be beneficial, because just the question of whether it's 3 or 50 or 100, just the question of, we need to be consistent, and are we going to ask for them back? And so I don't know if the board members want to comment on that, but there will probably be a handful or maybe a lot. But either way, I'm expecting there will be at least 1. And so what is the intent? And I think it needs to be discussed of, you know, are we going to pull back on, you know, a house near UWM that has students and has 4 current permits?
Well, at this point, I'd be happy to follow up at a future date once we have some more information and we get our program implemented to really be able to delve into that.
Why? I mean, I would just like to hear some feedback on.
It's just not relevant to the selection of the vendor at this point.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, I guess you can call the roll.
All right, so this would be to approve EDC for the parking management system. Trustee Amenta.
I abstain.
Okay. Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Ursink.
Yes.
President Rosick.
I abstain.
All right, 5 yeas and 2 abstains.
Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank
Yep,
you, Mark.
look forward to you coming back with the information. Thank you. We'll now move on to new business. Nope, we're on to village reports, village official reports. We do have from the village president 2 proclamations in our file. I am trying to get to them, so give me 1 second. We have, and Sarah, what is the name of the first one?
Yep, so the first one is the Arbor Day proclamation.
Yep.
And the second one is the Sunshine Proclamation.
Okay, can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read them because they're very short. The first proclamation is for Arbor Day. It's whereas the village of Shorewood enjoys the reputation of beautiful tree-lined streets and wood parks, and whereas trees are important to our environment by reducing soil erosion, moderating temperature, cleaning the air, producing oxygen, and providing wildlife habitat. And whereas the residents of the village of Shorewood have demonstrated a significant interest in the conservation and preservation of rare and historic trees, and I would add all trees, whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper and wood for homes, for fuel, for fire, and countless other wood products. And whereas the village of Shorewood has been designated as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation, now therefore I, Allison Rozak, President of the village of Shorewood, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day in Shorewood. The second proclamation we have, which I'm very proud of, and thank you, Rebecca, for pulling this together for us, is recognizing Sunshine Week, which is March 15th through the 19th of 2021. Sunshine Week is a national initiative that emphasizes the importance of open and transparent government, has been designated on March 15th through the 19th. And whereas public records law, sometimes called sunshine laws, exists to provide people information about the working of their government pursuant to Wisconsin's public records law. And whereas the Wisconsin State Statute Chapter 19 declares all persons are entitled to the greatest possible information regarding the affairs of government and the official acts of the officers and employees who represent them. And whereas most village records are public unless they contain information made private by law, now therefore be it resolved that the village recognizes Sunshine Week, March 15th through March 19th, 2021. And I know how much our board values transparency, and so I think that's a perfect proclamation. So that's all I have. I will now turn it over to the village trustees. Trustee Stokebrand.
I just want to remind everybody, on Wednesday is the virtual open house for the comprehensive plan update. It's some of our favorite topics: development, housing, building heights, taxes. The document is online. It's an interesting 200-page read. So please, get the word out there if people want input on that. This is one of the final opportunities. There, Wesley, with the postcard. Thank you.
Trustee Stokebrand, and maybe you know the answer to this. They're allowed to provide online comments because I do know it's St. Patty's Day in the evening, and so it might not be the perfect time for many who might want to comment.
It's 6:30 to 7:30. Bart, can you help me if there's other? I mean, I'm sure you can send in comments too, I would think, right?
That's what I'm asking for. Yes. Okay. All right. I saw some hands. Trustee Carpenter.
I was just asking. I have a conflict at that time, so I can send in comments separately. It was what I saw on the postcard that everyone was showing, right? So it sounds like everyone's correct. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Warren, did you have anything? Or no?
No, I was just providing the visual aid, so I'm good though. Other than that.
Thank you, Trustee Ursink.
I just wanted to give some kudos to the ice captains. We just over the weekend, they removed the ice rink at Lake Bluff, and it was just a super successful year of ice skating in the community. Lots of really fantastic feedback from folks, and we're looking at bringing it back next year, and hopefully, improving on the little things that just improving it year after year. We always try to improve it, so that's really exciting. And also just want to kind of spread the word as much as possible. The Shorewood Foundation is doing a Shark Tank, virtual challenge. It's just such a fantastic event. It really helped us with the first year of the feast, and it's really helped kickstart a lot of different initiatives here in Shorewood. So if you guys all have a chance on social media, just to bump that out a little bit, so we can get as many people in that as possible to pitch ideas and to just keep on improving our community. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
What's the date for that, Arthur?
That is April 8th. So we're a little far away, but better plan sooner than later for your big pitch, Wesley.
Thank you so much, Trustee Ursink. Any other trustee updates? If none, then go ahead, Village Manager.
No report.
No report. All right. We will then go to number 11 on our, I'm sorry, Trustee Bockhorst.
Well, I was going to ask Rebecca if you would have a report for the next meeting regarding the federal money, since it is kind of a big deal, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot for tonight, but maybe I'll just throw that into items for future consideration, because we there's a lot of information, and it would be nice for us to hear it in a concise way that makes sense for Shorewood.
Can I make a report?
Yes.
We talked about it in Budget and Finance Committee, but I wanted to say to full board that we ended the year last year in 2020 with a pretty good surplus. We had budgeted money for debt stabilization, and we had enough surplus that we actually didn't have to use any of that money. So, and I just wanted to commend staff and all the department heads, Mark and Rebecca, for really paying attention to budget and keeping us on expenditures and making sure that we end in the black and not in the red. They did a really good job.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that. Appreciate that. Okay, so with that, we will then move into items for future consideration. I have one that I would like to make a motion for. I'll explain it and then I'll make the motion. I don't actually, it's already been a motion, but one of them was Blue's Egg and discussing at the board level retracting the liquor license potentially, since it's been over a year. So I'd like to make a motion to add as a future agenda item a discussion about how to proceed with Blue's Egg liquor license. And if there's not a second, it will drop.
I'll second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second by trustee Stokbrand. Yes, trustee Carpenter.
Just for clarification, would we, it would be a discussion, and would we invite them to that discussion to understand like what is their future plans for
I think
the business?
Oh, so I think Nathan explained it before that we would, and maybe you want to just explain it again, but if we decide as a board that we'd like to pursue that, like pursue potentially retracting it, then the clerk would reach out. I believe that's how the process went, but go ahead, Nathan.
A due process, some sort of a due process hearing down the road. So that would, the board discussion would be the first step on deciding whether to potentially invoke the municipal ordinance to initiate that process.
Okay, all right, trustee Ursink.
Sarah, I know it sounds like you've reached out several times, but maybe if you reach out again, just saying that this is going to be a future topic or coming up on the agenda. I don't know how to word that, but maybe that'll, maybe that'll give them some inspiration to respond to you, because I've heard rumors in the community that they're planning on opening a certain type of sit-down dinner and lunch place here. So it'd be nice to hear that directly from them instead of other people in the community. But I've heard that from people with direct communications with the owners. So if I know them really well, but I'd hate to overstep any kind of lines there. So if you'd just say that, I don't know how you feel comfortable saying that in an email, but I think it would give them a little bit of a, inspiration to let us know what they plan on doing.
And she certainly could if we vote to put this on as a future agenda item. We haven't taken the vote yet, but yes, Sarah.
Yep, my last email was pretty strong to them, just so they knew that it's a topic, and it needs to be addressed.
Good. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Trustee Bockhurst.
Yeah, so I would also say, we've had a year of a pandemic, and I would caution us also to carry the stick around too heavily when we're still recovering from that, especially since we did use up all of our facade improvement money for the business grants, and we want to be business friendly. But if they're not responsive, Sarah, I can understand that, we might have to tell them that we are going to be discussing this, but I would hope that we would give them an opportunity and also a lot of leniency, just like we've given a lot of people leniency during these times. And we expect that from others as well.
Okay, thank you. That'll be discussed if we put it on an agenda. So we have a motion to put this as a future agenda item and a second. Can you take the roll?
Okay. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Stokerbrand.
Aye.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Bockhorst.
No.
Trustee Ursink.
No.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
President Rosick.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Thanks. And my only other request under future agenda items is the police study is moving along in committee, and I commend the committee for doing their work. I know it's a long process and it's a lot to digest. I had made a motion and it got approved as a future agenda item to talk about at the board potentially hiring the consultant back to assist during the action plan and implementation, so that we have an outside party in helping to form that rather than just the police department taking the lead. Anyhow, it is moving along, so I would request that it be moved to a closer agenda, if that's okay. It should be mean, we may vote no, but at least we have the board's will of whether or not we would like to involve a consultant in this phase, but it is moving along. So I don't know, Rebecca, how you prioritize what gets on the agenda.
What's that?
Gremlin?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was, but the decision's really up to the board.
Well, I'm just saying that we already put it as a future agenda item. We already voted for that. And so now it's, I think, up to staff of how to prioritize those. It's just that it's happening. And so if we were going to have board input, then we probably should do it sooner than later. We should put it on an agenda.
We're not that far along. We still have a long ways to go on the police organizational study.
Okay, so anybody else have any items for future agenda? Trustee Menta.
Yeah, since we got rid of chapter 155.23, we really have no format for handling complaints from the public, either about about staff or about elected officials. And it's been suggested to the board several times that we consider having an ethics commission. I think there's a lot of value about having, unbiased members of the community who can consider, any type of anything that would maybe go. Obviously, we're governed by state ethics laws along financial improprieties, but there can be a variety of types of complaints, and I do think it would be good for us to have some process for it. So I move that we consider establishing an ethics commission for the village of Shorewood.
Second that. I forgot about that.
I'll second that. Could I ask what kind of ethics complaints you're considering? So I'd love to hear what you mean by that. That's not already covered by the state. Do you mean like people's personal behavior, choices, who they commiserate?
Calling someone, like using obscenities during a meeting, or calling people names, or I don't know. And we can talk about it when we discuss it.
No. I mean, if we're going to vote on it, what do you mean? What are we voting on? Because I think it's a fair question. So is this an attempt to try to embarrass people, or is this an attempt to actually use board time wisely?
Okay, thank you.
For board use? No, I have every right, because President Rosek, I have every right to ask questions.
It's a future agenda item with a motion. She doesn't need to answer that question. It is.
You don't need to interrupt me. This is an ethics
local ethics committee, which many localities have it. So by the time we get to board, if you vote for it, we'll have all the answers for you. Anybody else have any questions?
That's not really a really good answer. That's a BS answer, and put that in the ethics thing.
Yes, Trustee Stokebrand.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear about the police organizational study. I believe the only thing we asked was to maybe find out what the rate was if we wanted to get Alexander Weiss to come in.
We have a motion on the table. I'm sorry.
Yes. So any other questions on the current item and motion? Trustee Carpenter, do you have your hand up? Nope. Okay. Trustee Ursink.
So is this the president appoint the ethics committee? Is that, or is that does the group, because I can see this, I mean, nobody in Shorewood is unbiased. Everybody knows, it's a small community. We all know each other. So to have a group of people picked by the president, of the village, it just doesn't.
You would develop that as a board. So it would be an ordinance to create an ethics committee, and then you develop who would be the appointing authority. Could be
I just don't see that as and what power do these people have? The residents have. I could see this going in so many bad ways, bad directions. It's just, it's not seem like a good idea.
Trustee Stokebrand?
It could operate sort of like the police commission. And they could be you could apply and you could be appointed by the president with the approval of the board. So
that's different than the police commission, but yes.
I can see the president handpicking people, you know, so there's a lot of flaws probably in that, and I'm sure we'll discuss it if it comes to that, but there just seems to be tons of flaws in that sort of thing, especially in a village like Shorewood.
Thank you. Yeah, I 100% support it. Many communities have local ethics boards. We just abolished the only way a citizen could do it by affidavit, have a complaint against an elected official, and we've all seen
complaint against anyone at any time.
So I do support the motion. I think that it's very important that citizens can be heard if they have a complaint through an affidavit process. And since we don't have a process in place, I think one would be much valued. Trustee Backhorst.
Yeah, so you and Trustee Amenta advocated for getting rid of 155. Now you're saying we don't have a process in place, but you're advocating for an amorphous thing. So I'm going to call out the leaders in this room: Trustee Carpenter, Trustee Stokebrand, Trustee Warren, Trustee Ursink, Trustee Amenta, and President Rosick. You all know what she's doing right here. So I have no problem with this votes yes, but we've all been here before 2 years ago. And Trustee Amenta, come on, explain what you mean.
Do not address other
no, don't yell at me. I mean,
don't address other members of the board. It's not correct.
There's so much wrong with this. But if you want to go ahead and do it, you want to, whatever you're trying to allude to, because I have not heard one concrete thing from you, Trustee Amenta. Swearing or name calling.
That's enough. Enough.
No.
Trustee Warren.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, just to try to simplify things, I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm okay talking about it. I mean, certainly, I don't find it objectionable to have the discussion to figure out what it would look like. We're not going to know what it's going to look like. It's 10:38 at night, and it's an idea. So I have no problem talking about it. So I'm prepared to support it.
Well, I mean, campaign finance stuff, for example. I mean, you can complain to the state, but the state, you know, a lot of times it's difficult to get the state to respond. So, or even like if you ask a candidate for their records and they don't get it to you, or you ask a candidate, or you have a personal open records request to a trustee and they never bother to send it to you. So, I mean, there's a whole variety of areas beyond just, you know, conflict of interest, fiscal, financial conflict of interest rules. And, you know, people, we really have no mechanism at this point. And I'm not just talking about, I mean, we have no police oversight mechanism either. And we certainly have no oversight of other DPW and issues going on there. So I just feel like we have cut off one of the avenues that residents have in order to bring issues up to the board that they feel need to be dealt with. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know, but you know, I don't have a lot of like specific. I haven't like thought it all through. I was asked to bring this up. I've supported. I don't know how you can vote against an entity that is concerned with ethics, but if you want to vote against it, go ahead.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
Trustee Buckers, you have not been recognized. Please take the roll call.
Whoops, sorry. No, I'd like to speak.
Please take the roll.
So this would be to have the board consider establishing an ethics commission in the village of Shorewood. Trustee Ursink.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee Backhorst.
Most definitely.
President Rosick.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other items for future agenda? Rebecca.
I just wanted to let you know that our closed session meeting link has expired at 10:30, so I will be sending you a new one momentarily once we get off this call.
Can you text it to me? I don't have access to my email at the moment.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Carpenter.
This is and maybe this should have been in reports, but this is just an FYI that there will be some information coming out regarding Manager Ewald's review in the next few days. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that.
And I think we're going to try to schedule the closed session for April 5th.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Great. Trustee Stokebrand, did you have a question on the police study? I know we were on a different agenda item. No?
Do you want a motion to adjourn?
I think we're there. Let's see. I think we need to go into closed session first. Is that correct?
Correct. I would need a motion into closed session, so I just need somebody to read that long thing.
Trustee Warren.
You see me unmuted. I move to convene into closed session to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.851G to confer with legal counsel on strategy regarding Yasmin Outlaw versus Village of Shorewood litigation.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Warren, a second by Trustee Bockhorst. Do we have to take a roll call?
We do. Trustee Menta.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Carpenter.
Aye.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Bockhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Stokebrand.
Aye.
President Rosick.
Yes.
All right, you are adjourned into closed session. Thank you.
Okay, so we will close this link and go to the new link.